Welcome to Gen X Adulting. And today we're welcoming JD into the studio. Welcome, JD.
Well, thank you for having me. It's
We're
great to be here.
We're so happy to have you here.
Oh, joy.
Our first question is always, what year were you born?
1961.
Okay, so you are a boomer.
Tail end of the baby boomers.
You are. You're at the tail end of the baby boomers.
Correct.
Okay, where were you born?
Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, Midwestern by birth, but moved around a lot. So there's a lot behind that.
So are your parents from Fort Wayne?
My mother's family was there when she met my father, and he was a Michigan guy.
Okay, so what brought your father to Fort Wayne?
He, a little bit behind it. He was the first one to go to college in his family on the GI Bill. He was in the Korean War, a Navy
wow.
guy,
Okay.
and started going to college in Michigan State. And part of what was going down with that, he was getting a degree in human resources personnel. So he started in some plants. And I believe there was some interaction between Indiana and Michigan where they met in a malt shop and those like happy
wow.
days type of thing.
Yeah,
No way.
Yeah, true stuff.
Wow.
True stuff. So Michigan by birth, him for a long time. My mom had, I think, Oklahoma, Indiana.
Okay.
But yeah, they met there.
Do you know what year?
58,
Okay,
57.
so a real 1950s malt shop meeting.
She had,
Happy
the,
days.
she had the little dog on the skirt,
The poodle skirt.
the poodle skirt, and they, for them it was idyllic. It was truly like that happy days.
Like
Oh, wow.
like Grease.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's so cool. Okay, so they met, and do you know how long it was between the time they met and they got married?
It wasn't long, within a year.
All right, and did they stay? They stayed in Fort Wayne, obviously, because that's where you were born.
Yeah, they bopped around a year or two. A
Okay.
year or two.
Are you the oldest?
I'm the middle child of 5.
Oh, wow.
I'm the middle child.
Wow.
How many boys? How many girls?
3 boys, 2 girls.
And who are the oldest? How does the order go?
My sister Lori is a couple years older than me, and I'm 63. My brother's 1 year older than me, and then me, and then my younger sister, who's probably 2 years younger than me, so probably 61, 60, and then my youngest brother is 59.
Okay, so I think your youngest brother is a Gen X.
Might be.
I think he's the last. What year was he born?
He was born in 66.
Yep, he's a Gen X.
Yeah.
Okay, and the
Yeah.
rest of you guys are boomers.
Yep.
Okay, so you were in Fort Wayne for like a couple of years after,
Right.
like as a baby.
year or two. Dad, again, in plants, moving up the chain. So we moved up. We moved a bunch.
Okay, now when he was in the Korean War, do you know how long he served over there?
I don't know all the details. He didn't really talk a lot about it,
Mhm.
but you see the pictures, and thank God he was off the coast of Korea.
Okay.
So he didn't actually see active battle, but they were part of the support function. And, you see the ships and the history, and it was pretty cool. But surprisingly, he was soft spoken, especially when a bunch of the kids are a little more out there.
Yeah.
But great dad. But his whole thing was, I just want to make a better life, comes from good family. But that going to school, super important.
That's amazing. That must have meant so much to his family. Do you know what motivated him to want to go to college since his family hadn't gone?
That's a really good question. I can't say he ever told me that. He just had that drive. Good man, one of those ones, they were raised pretty devout Catholics. But
Yeah.
they loved all people, and as long as people were good, it worked out so well. But that's the path they went down, and he just always wanted to do better, to be a better person, better community,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So that was him. He was just a good guy, just a really good guy.
That's cool.
What did he do for a living?
Human resources.
Okay.
And again, he started in the plants, worked into like manufacturing facilities, whatever those kind of,
Right.
where they made, sometimes I think it was petroleum type of things or petroleum products. And then he moved up into the executive offices to New York over time.
This was, when everything was made in America, right?
Yep.
True.
Yeah,
True.
it's very different now, but this was back when you could get a job in America at a manufacturing plant and build a career off of that. Where those opportunities,
Yeah.
like the younger generations couldn't that's not as available to them, I guess, right?
I'd agree. He did a lot of union negotiations, so it's interesting that you say
interesting.
that. So
Yeah.
now that you're saying it's flagging me, I can remember how some of that was pretty tense, but
Yeah.
very important, at the
Oh,
same time.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So did his job, was your mom a stay-at-home mom?
Yes.
Okay, and with that many kids, definitely. Now, did his job, did he travel or did you guys move because of his job?
Yeah. We moved. I think I lived in a total probably 10 states.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
What states?
So lived in Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
Wilmington, Delaware, Randolph, New Jersey,
Mhm.
Baltimore, Maryland. Went to college in Virginia, James Madison in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Moved to New York with my college buddy, and then from New York to Florida.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
that's been that. So with my parents, once I went to college, that's when we dispersed. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
so we had a lot of moves.
You did have a lot of
Yeah.
moves. So your elementary years, where were they?
A couple different places. It was Delaware and then New Jersey.
And then what about middle school?
New Jersey.
Okay.
In Randolph.
Yeah, it was
It-
one.
Randolph's close to where I grew up.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I heard your guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was idyllic, quite frankly. You go back there
Yeah.
now and I can't believe it because it's been built up so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was, he was going into New York City, working
Mhm.
for W.R. Grace at the time, and they had that beautiful building with the bend, and really proud of that. Or into Parsippany, where they had a lot of executive offices
Yep.
too for
Mm-hmm.
the various. I think at the time it was a chemical company that he was working for.
Yep. Might have been Dow, actually. Actually, I had a friend of mine move from out of state from Michigan to New Jersey because his dad worked at Dow in Parsippany.
It was Allied Chemical.
Okay.
I don't know if that.
They're big too.
Yeah, they were at the time for sure.
So his commute, he would commute into the city every morning?
No, I think that he did a fair amount, but at the same time, they had a facility in Parsippany, and that
Okay,
was
and that's not too bad.
not too bad at all.
No. it's
No,
close.
people
No.
don't realize that part of Jersey is beautiful. They picture the Sopranos when you say New Jersey, but there's a
Yeah,
whole part
no.
of Jersey that's small town.
Mm-hmm.
We lived
safe,
on a lake,
gorgeous.
you guys.
Yes,
That
yes.
It's,
Yeah.
like you were talking about your kids, they're able to go out. This was
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. So
And-
when, oh, sorry, go
No, I
ahead.
was just going to say he was real proud of that because each time we moved, it was a step up for your housing, which was always
Yeah.
a blessing.
Yeah,
And then I know my mom enjoyed that, but 5 kids in 7 years, it was really tough when we talk about her. It was great,
Yeah.
great mom, but I mean that's tough.
it
yeah.
is. That's
That
a
was
lot.
really tough.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So when you were in elementary school and middle school, did you do any sports?
Yeah. Oh, typical football and baseball and basketball. It was idyllic, quite honestly.
Mhm.
I can just remember having a younger brother who we'd always play with, and my older brother and friends in the neighborhood. It seemed to be, I don't want to overplay that, but it was just wonderful.
Now, did they have travel sports when you were growing up?
That I don't believe so.
Okay, so it was
Not really.
still
Right.
like like just everyone, neighborhood and school friends played
Yep.
on the baseball team. Then same friends
They-
played on football and basketball, that
Yeah,
kind of
They
thing.
would go to different schools. You'd have
Yeah.
the different schools you're competing against.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is I think they were real smart about where they ended up purchasing the homes, like near this lake. And by the way, it was called Shongum Lake, if you know Randolph, beautiful lake. And then when we lived, other areas, they'd get it near a school.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mhm.
you just go to the school and they'd have camps in the summer or a tennis camp
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
all
yeah.
sorts of things. So I think my parents they thought that through because that, again, dad was working and mom had, probably the hardest jobs.
Well, your
Yeah,
mom was
yeah.
sitting home with 5 kids. She's like, I need a playground nearby. I need a lake. Probably had some rules.
I think they really,
Yeah.
I think that was well thought through.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you walk to school?
I can remember walking to school. I can remember some of the bus rides,
Okay,
which I
so
enjoyed.
close enough where she didn't have to drive you guys.
That is correct. Don't ever remember that.
That's
Yeah.
smart.
That might have put her over the top.
Yeah, yeah. So high school, where was that?
High school started it was in New Jersey for 1 year.
Mhm.
And then I moved to Towson, Maryland, outside of Baltimore. And that was my 10th, 11th, and 12th grade year.
Okay, so how hard was it to move to be the new kid in high school?
For me, it just worked out really well. I was comfortable because we had moved. For some of my brothers and sisters, it was super hard,
Yeah.
super hard.
It's probably, do you think that's because of your disposition and your personality, since everyone kind of responded to it differently, or because
Yeah.
you were a little older? Like, did your younger siblings have a harder time with it, or your older siblings?
My older siblings,
Okay.
it's really, if knowing me and then knowing them, I love my brothers and sisters. They've always been very good, but we are extremely different. They're the
Mhm.
two, my older sister and older brother, real intelligent, and read a lot of books. My brother was very handy. I was out the door. I was playing ball.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was doing what you're talking about your son doing. I'm on the
Yeah.
phone at 15. I want to talk to my friends and girls.
Yeah.
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 So I was out. My brother was out. My sister she was in between, the younger, but all good, all good.
Yeah.
I think my
Yeah.
sister and brother felt responsibility to help my mom,
Mm.
especially my older sister. She's wonderful, but I think that because my mom parents had so many kids,
Yeah.
she assumed a role,
Yeah.
and lives a great life, great husband and kids and all that. But at the same time, I think she had to help out.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that happens. I think in larger families, the older siblings naturally are given some responsibility of the younger siblings. And so I think back when your parents were having kids, having a large family was pretty common, right?
Correct.
Way more common than now, I would say.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Like if
Totally
you
agree.
said I have 5 kids now, people definitely would be like, wow, we're back then. That was probably like, yeah, that makes
I think
sense.
a lot of people did it. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people
Especially
did it.
Yeah.
Catholics, right? That
Oh,
was a
yeah.
historical Catholic,
Well,
large
yes,
Catholic family.
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think they felt that was a big part of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because I think my sister was born right about 9 months after the
Yeah.
wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was part of
Yeah.
it. They,
Yeah.
you know, they wanted to.
Well, everything you just said too, right? They met, and then within a year, you're saying you think they got married,
Yeah.
and then by 9 months later, they have your sister, and then 4 more kids coming through.
Yeah.
That was that traditional.
I think that's
Catholic
just how,
thing.
that's how it
Yeah.
was, you know?
A little interesting tidbit on that, though. We talked about the malt shop, which is, my dad just, they went there after basketball games when he was younger. So this was
That's
just,
cool.
it is cool. But he said the moment my mother walked into the malt shop, like he felt a different kind of energy. He goes, I knew I was going to marry this lady.
Wow.
That's
He
cool.
said that from the get-go. And for him to say it, it's kind of interesting because he's kind of a little, again, soft-spoken, a little quiet, and might have kept that to himself but I remember him saying that. And then flash forward to when I met my wife, which we can talk about when the time is right, but met her at a party through her sister who I went to college with. And what's interesting, she didn't feel this at all. Same thing happened. She walked into the room and something happened.
You know?
I
Interesting.
swear, you guys, I don't mean to, because it almost would have been easier. Living in New York, life was great.
Yeah.
Living with my college roommate, lacrosse buddy, life was great. But there's a connection there. I remember my dad
That's
saying
cool.
that. I felt that about my wife, Sharcy.
That's
Everything
so
changed
cool.
for the better.
That is
That's
so cool.
awesome.
It is
That's
cool,
fate.
and
That's
it's so
fate.
true, you guys.
Yeah, that's fate.
Wish you would have felt the same way. She's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, But
I think she can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah.
When I walked in the room.
well, you guys did connect rather quick, right?
We were friends.
Yeah.
So we met when we
Ooh.
were 19, and we were really good friends for 3 years.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it was a little different.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We were, and our friendship just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And then about a month before we graduated college, we realized we felt like we kind of expressed how we felt. I was dating one of his good friends. And so it allowed us to have a really strong platonic friendship because we were always in the same group, always together.
But did you feel
Yeah,
close to
the year,
Brian?
the year before we graduated, I remember feeling conflicted, definitely. And we would spend a lot of time together. And I think when we have reminisced on that, we both look back and think we were both feeling the same thing, but I was dating his friend and I'd been with him for a long time. And then I think it came to the point where it was, okay, so we need to just admit how we're feeling and see what happens. And then we weren't apart after that. I think
Yeah.
that was it.
kind
So
of beautiful though, because then you
Oh,
knew
yeah.
the guy, and at the same time you got those feelings,
Yeah.
like that. You want to be with that person.
Yeah, it was, but you wanted to make sure, you don't want to affect another relationship unless it's like
Right.
real.
That's tough.
So, and then that was it. We graduated a month later and we drove around the country.
Yeah.
Are you still friends with that person, Brian, or that all?
No, I don't think so. Not really.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's another story.
He was not happy with that?
Nope.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
there was no what do the kids call it? Crossover. You know, like I ended the relationship and then
There was
started
no
dating.
hanky panky.
There was nothing like, you
Gotcha.
know what I'm trying to say? It was all on the up and up.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So okay, so high school. Then you graduate.
Yep.
And during high school, did you kind of get an idea what you wanted to do for a living?
Didn't really think about it. It was too good a time. Sports,
Okay.
lacrosse, baseball, lacrosse, wrestling,
Mhm.
friends.
So when did you start playing lacrosse?
The last year in high school.
Your senior year.
Yeah.
You never played before?
I never did. And we were big in lacrosse outside of it, but just so many friends played. So I was picking up a
Mhm.
stick. So it started really in college, quite frankly. I lived with a couple really good New Yorkers that played some great lacrosse.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I got brought into the mix, and it ended up being just a great time.
So you played lacrosse in college,
Correct.
but you didn't start until your senior year.
That is correct.
That's unheard of now.
Well, really, at the time, James Madison was a club. So really good lacrosse, but they were clubs. A lot of
Yeah.
the schools that are clubs now play D1 and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was just fantastic. Like we played like a Virginia B team and they would just beat you up. At that time,
Yeah.
Virginia was winning titles, but yeah, it was great. And it was good that I was able to pick it up like that. I probably
Yeah.
didn't compare to some of the others, but I got involved in running the club and ended up being the president of the club. And we would go to various campuses, William and Mary,
That's
cool.
cool.
Virginia Military, and you just play on the college campus and have just
That's probably beautiful. All these beautiful campuses.
Roanoke, Virginia
Mhm.
Tech.
Yeah.
How would you guys get around? Did you like
School,
bus
they
or a-
provided us resources
Okay, cool.
because lacrosse was big in that area, that Shenandoah Valley.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
it was big in the area. So we always had that. And, they would do various things to raise money. But it was great. You got to meet friends. And then you'd be, at Lynchburg staying overnight or
Mhm.
whatever. And some of the dorms of the other guys on the other team. And
Did you have to try out for the club team?
I know there's really no formal tryout. But I think what happened by osmosis, if you weren't good enough,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we had a coach who was ended up becoming a mentor. Loved the guy who was a World War II pilot. Never forget him, Colonel Roland Bud Brady. And he was the coach, and he was lived down in Stanton, probably 20, 30 minutes from the college. And he wanted to coach because he played lacrosse. He was a skier. He was just this wonderful gentleman and great pilot, some great stories behind it in World War II. But he took to me. So he knew that I had at least I could play, but captain. I was captain of the wrestling team in high school.
Wow, yeah.
One of my buddies that I went to college with played lacrosse with me at college, and he was a captain. So we already had that kind of experience on we can have fun and all this kind of stuff, but at the same time, we got to do this right,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's do it.
He saw leadership in you.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Because now, it's so competitive now. Like it's even competitive club. I think
There's
it's
no doubt.
It's completely different. I think where, I don't think you just can play club even now. It's you try out for club and all that. So for you to be able to have that experience and then to be recognized for your leadership characteristics and not just how long you've been playing lacrosse is pretty cool.
And I owe him a debt of gratitude because one, it helped me further define who I was going to be.
Yeah.
And being in Air Force, and he ended up being like the military attaché to Turkey. And so he was a class guy, and you needed to do it as right. And he, I met his wife and became part of the extended family for some time. They were class. So he just wanted you, he still knew we were kids, but at the same time expected a certain level of, and I respected that. He'd have us into his house and, you'd have the a little drink before dinner and everybody dressed accordingly.
Yeah.
And, when you were at the table, he had dignitaries there periodically. There was a couple,
Interesting.
yeah, it was a couple wild stories about who I had dinner with as a young kid that I didn't realize till after the fact. But he was well connected and well respected. And, like I said, absolutely loved the guy.
You were learning life skills.
Learning life skills.
Yeah.
From a hero, by the way, from a
Yeah,
hero.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he left me his, when he passed and got buried in Arlington, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. He left me his flight records.
Oh,
And
cool.
some of the stories in the flight records were like, how they flow in these formation. If someone gets hit, you got to take lead and stuff. And there's just some of the stories, and he wasn't talked too deep about it. But once I got the flight records, the guy was a hero.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
I wish we could have one of those guys on. I don't know if there's any around anymore.
There's a
really.
small population
Yeah.
of like World War II vets around.
Yeah, just to capture some of their stories, because the younger generations have no concept of World War I, World War II veterans, really what they have to say. We kind of do because of growing up and hearing, on TV or interviews or whatever, but there's just no exposure anymore, So I just think that's so amazing that he was your lacrosse coach. That's so cool.
It was meant to be.
Absolutely.
Did you maintain a relationship after you graduated?
I did.
You did. Did he meet any of your wife and kids or anything like that?
He did. Again, he was getting older and had some heart problems. So I think he died in his later 70s.
Mhm.
But they owned a really classy bath shop in this cute town called Stanton, Virginia.
We stayed there.
Did you?
So it's funny, the world of lacrosse. We were going to lacrosse tournaments a couple summers ago, right? Up
Yeah.
in the Northeast, Connecticut or Rhode Island or something. And we left here, South Florida, drove all the way up to Stanton, spent the night there, got up the next day and drove up, 70 something, whatever, 81. That's 81
I think so.
past ODU, Old Dominion, which really that's the purple stadium. Really cool school. Beautiful area.
Yeah, that's
My
more
gosh.
on the towards the water, right?
What is?
Old Dominion? Isn't that? No?
No, I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah, where did you go again? What did you say?
James Madison.
James Madison. That's what we passed right along.
Right,
it.
that's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
It was right
I
off it.
screwed
Yeah.
the two up.
We
Yeah.
passed James Madison.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Old Dominion's totally on the
time,
other
you
side
guys,
of the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thank God for that college experience. It was, you hope everybody has it. And I realize now more than ever, you don't have to have a college degree by any, whatever works. But again, it was super important to the parents at the time.
Yeah.
But what a 4, well, it was 5.
You did 5
You
years?
stuck around.
Oh,
You got that 5th year. Okay, so
great.
when did you know you wanted to go there? Because you're in high school. Because now, of course, everything's so crazy with kids. Junior year, you're touring colleges, and you can even start applying to colleges summer before your senior year. And a lot of these kids know where they're going by fall of their senior year, but I don't think it was like that back then, right?
wasn't.
Yeah. So what was it like when you wanted to go to college?
One, it was exciting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, we had some resources. The parents' deal was they'll pay for half. You got to work in the summers. And because he had that kind of a job, he was able to get us all good jobs where we were earning money, working in.
That's true. HR.
Yeah. But they also was smart. Again, 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. So we would be doing shifts working in these various plants. And so that kind of made you appreciate learning how to be a good worker and then being a little jealous of your friends going out. But at the same time, we made some good money. So there was that good mix of we're paying 50-50 and that was the agreement. But just being able to experience meeting the people that I did in the Virginia, which was beautiful. It just, I couldn't have asked for more. But back to your question, it really came down to what were our SATs. I knew I wanted to go with my best buddy as well. So his SATs, little lacking, but you know what I'm saying? And then it was how much to get in, right? Yeah. So those were the two variables. And then we bounce around and visit where were they? And quite honestly, it was so funny. I can remember we're up in my bedroom, figuring out they had the books at the time. There was not like what you see now. And we're like, James Madison, okay, it was $3,000 a semester or it was affordable. What it might even have been a year at the time. And, the SAT scores, and then 65% girls, 35% guys. It was a women's teacher college years and years ago. Boom.
That's a great ratio.
No-brainer.
So that ratio just fell right into something that just stood out. And then you go visit and you're like,
Yeah.
You know, it's just blown up now. But
Yeah.
at the time, there were like 10,000 students, including, you know, people that are, what's that, the after graduates or whatever they were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys would have a book
Yep.
that would have all the colleges in
Correct.
it. And so you kind of narrowed down maybe where you want to go, or you would just look through the book and read
Correct.
about the different colleges. And mainly it was the SAT score
Correct.
required. So they didn't really care about grades as much.
I don't think so.
So it's SAT, and then you
SAT.
looked at how much does this cost? Like, can we afford it?
Correct.
Can our family
That
afford
was
it?
correct. I don't
And-
remember like the high school counselor helping me much. Might have, but again,
Yeah.
I didn't need that kind of
Yeah.
And then you didn't have to write an essay or have a resume.
Did we?
No.
Are you?
Yeah,
you're-
we had-
had to do that.
We
I
had
don't
to do
remember
it-
that at
we
all.
had to do an essay, but we didn't have to do a resume because now it's SAT, grades,
Okay.
resume,
Resume.
essay. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
I
And
imagine.
people pay college counselors or guides like thousands
There's a whole
of dollars
cottage
to
industry.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole. It's so different. Okay, so when did you know you got accepted?
Got accepted.
Like senior year, end of senior year?
You know, I think I worked for 6 months before because I didn't get in, I don't believe, the first semester. Or
Okay.
you know how what they called? They put you on like a waiting list.
Yeah,
Mhm.
deferred.
And then my college roommate that I wanted to make sure it took him a year to be able to get in. So
Okay.
I think 6 months I stayed working in the plants, you know, that kind of thing, building
Okay.
up money, but knowing that I was getting in. And then he joined about 6 months later.
And then did you guys were you in dorms?
We went off campus from the very get go.
Okay.
That was
So the two of you in an apartment?
we did. We did.
And then did you do Greek life at all?
I didn't. We couldn't play in a sport.
Okay.
It would have been really, really
Yeah.
difficult. And I do miss that because
Mm.
my son went through that thank God I was able to be part of as a dad. And I really enjoyed what I saw. But no, it was too much.
Well, your form of that would have been being with Lacrosse. You still had that camaraderie.
Yeah, oh,
I'm
absolutely.
sure you guys had parties.
Oh my
all
God.
that stuff.
It was
So so if you started maybe spring semester, you said you were
yeah,
deferred.
yeah, it was deferred.
Okay.
Correct.
And then he started the following
The following like
fall?
right, the following fall.
Okay. So that first semester, were you on your own?
I ended up just meeting a couple people that were in the same type of scenario, and you get potluck, and it worked out pretty good.
Mhm.
Nice.
Worked
so
out
you guys got an apartment together.
Yep, got an apartment. It was
Okay.
so fun. It
And-
was such a farm kind of area
Yeah.
at those times.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
just, you could go and there was quarries and forests and, that Shenandoah Valley. So it
Mhm.
was just idyllic. So they had like the dorms out campus because it was growing so much were these cute apartments they built into the scenery.
That's awesome.
It's
really
it's
was.
really a
That's
beautiful
awesome.
area.
It's
Oh.
gorgeous.
For anybody who's not been through there, it's
Yes,
beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
so beautiful. So if you started spring and he started fall, when did you guys start Lacrosse?
That
Fall?
yeah, that fall.
That's fall. And so then that's when your lacrosse,
Yeah.
club lacrosse. And did you do that the whole time you were in school?
Correct.
You stayed.
And what's interesting, one of the guys that I met that roomed with, and I don't think we stayed, not friends. He was fine, but it just not meant to be as far as the lasting friendship kind of
Yeah.
thing. He's the one that turned me on to lacrosse, so he would sit there. So for those 6 months, as my friend was coming down, that's where I learned it. It just kind of
Well, you had played for the senior year in high school, right?
no. I just played with the guys. That's the first
Oh,
time I
you
picked up a
hadn't-
stick. Yeah.
So wait, you didn't actually play on the high school team?
No.
So you just had friends who did.
That's
And would
correct.
pick up a stick and mess around with them. But then that spring semester at college, and you met this kid,
Correct.
and he pretty much taught you
Yeah,
lacrosse.
It did.
That's amazing.
And what's wild too is how some things like I love golf, but I was never natural at that at all. As much as I love it, it just seemed like lacrosse
you
worked.
were. You must.
Mm.
You must have been. You must have been.
Well,
to be
and,
able.
there's a lot of stamina associated with that. I was telling you, I
Yeah.
wrestled in college, so
Mm.
excuse me, high school, not college. And you got to control weight. You got to do a lot of things
Yeah.
that challenge you,
Discipline.
discipline. So
Ton of discipline. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
our practices, and this is a Air Force colonel running the practice. You ran, I think, 10 miles of practice. That might be an exaggeration, but we were in really,
shape.
really good shape. So
Yeah.
I think that helped me as much. I don't think I was as good as some of the ones that were more natural, but I was able to score a fair amount and be around that. But I definitely wasn't on the top echelon, but I was helpful and
Yeah, you had a good athletic base to build off of for sure.
absolutely.
So do you know what position? Do you remember what position?
Sure. Midi, center midi.
Okay, and you need to be quick and have good stamina to be a midi because you're back and
Run.
forth, back and forth,
Yeah.
back and forth each end of the field.
That
Yeah.
was it. That
Yeah.
was it. And I love that. As you know, I think you were telling me your son plays.
Yeah,
I love that. It's physical.
it is.
Yeah.
And as
Yeah.
a young guy, you want to get that out of your
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
slide, Brian, and
Yeah.
somebody's coming and you're coming across the crease
can
and
like
this
take
guy
their head
checks
off.
you and I'm
Yeah.
going to take you. It was, so
Yeah.
that was,
No, it's an amazing game.
I don't think she can relate to, or not relate, but she's shocked because it's changed so much.
Yeah,
You've got to build up even just to get into a club program at this point.
it's a whole thing.
It's
oh,
nuts,
it's
yeah.
so.
see, I don't know if I
competitive.
would have been able to get in at
It's
the
a
time.
whole thing, and,
Yeah.
and playing. You need to play travel in order to really keep up. Like the rec programs, and I think this is true with a lot of youth sports now. Is younger kids start out in rec, and then a lot of kids will pick a sport and do travel of that sport, and then play on the rec teams during that season, and are so much better than just kids that are just doing it for fun. And then those kids don't get playing time. I think travel sports has affected rec sports.
100%.
It's kind of pushed out kids that just want to play sports just casually, you know?
Especially here in Florida because it's
Yeah.
so nice year round.
Yeah.
That kids pick a sport at a young age and they focus on it and they get really good at it. So to her point, the casual, athlete, rec
Yeah.
athlete, they're just behind.
It's become very
trip.
intense
It's
very
wild.
quickly. Yeah.
I don't know if I like that.
I hate it.
No, I don't like
Yeah.
it.
No, because you know
No.
what? You want these kids to still play sports, even if they went into a YMCA.
Yeah.
They still have them,
Yeah.
and you get on a team, and that was such a big part of my life.
Yeah. And I think for our age too, I think travel was just starting for Gen X.
I played,
right?
I played football in the fall, basketball in the winter, and then baseball in the summer or spring, summer, and then you screw around in the summer and you jump back into football.
But I think
They don't do that anymore.
The
It's like year round.
the
That was fabulous, right? I mean, it had to be.
Oh, I loved it.
I mean,
No,
that's
I
a
can
kid's
totally
dream.
relate to what you're saying. That idyllic childhood of
Oh.
playing different sports and just being athletic. And they do say a lot of the like a lot of lacrosse coaches, even football coaches, the big programs, they want multi-sport athletes because they know they're more well-rounded. They're not just completely hyper-focused. You start running into repetitive motion injuries. Pitchers now
Totally.
get Tommy John, football players get hurt, all that stuff.
And burnout, right?
And
'Cause
burnout.
I think that,
100%.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. It's changed it, and there's just an intensity amongst parents, and it's just different now. So it's really that old fashioned, oh, I'm just gonna play a sport. It's not once you hit, I feel like 10 is
Yeah,
where the
yeah.
10
You got to be good or you're out.
or
Yeah.
yeah, the 10 is when they're really, although now now it might be 8 or 9, like when
You know what'll have to happen? You got to come back in a few years when JD Junior's about to get in, when
Yeah.
he has to decide. You come back and tell us.
yeah, because you as
He'll
a
be confronted with
grandfather,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
your kids with their kids are gonna end up going through it. It's just, I don't know, the whole phenomenon is really interesting. I'm hoping that it's gonna go so far, it's going so far this way that eventually it'll come back around, and people will start to embrace just the organic playing of sports.
You would think because
It'll happen.
I think
that's
so.
healthy.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the next step. That's the next business.
There you go.
Is
That's
that
so interesting you talk about
Yeah.
it. So my grandson, who's Jackson Declan, and John David, so he's, I was hoping they'd say call him JD.
At least they
but it's
got the
Jackson.
initials right.
He's
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, for whatever reason, his dad, he's got these plastic clubs, golf clubs. He loves golf because his dad loves golf.
Mhm.
So I've taken him to the range, at the country club a couple times, and he's got a little bag, says Jackson. And, we got him the real driver, a real sandwich, and a putter.
Mhm.
And he's 2.5, right? So he'll get up there and, everybody's so kind to him and stuff. We don't do it where, because he's young and I don't want to mess up the flow of people really being serious. But, it's so hot right now that, it's not near as busy. But anyway, 2.5, there's a guy giving lessons to a woman. And, Jackson's sitting there watching what's going on. And I kind of explain, well, honey, this teaches you how to be good. Well, anyway, I called the guy because the starter goes, your 2.5-year-old's got, his swing. He's been walks around in the swing. So sure enough, the pro goes, well, generally people don't start till 4 or 5, but he goes, I do have a couple 2.5-year-olds that
Wow.
if they can sit or and
If they'll listen.
if they'll listen.
Yeah.
So Monday, 11 o'clock, or Monday or the afternoon, I forget what time, got his first lesson.
That's
Oh my
awesome.
So I'm
gosh.
taking him.
Oh
so
my
I know, but
gosh.
now I'm going back to going,
You're in it.
I'm in it, but I'd
Yeah.
rather him be well-rounded and be able to do all those multiple things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he walks around with a club in his hand.
Yeah,
That's
he likes
awesome.
it. He likes
cute.
it. No, I mean, I think and training, kids now get trainings on all the sports. It's very common now. So whether they're playing multiple sports, they're getting trainings on all those. So like, if you were to tell that to anyone, they'd be like, "Yeah, that sounds normal."
That's
You
what you
know,
do.
that's just how it is. That's
Well,
what you do. You know,
With everything we said, we're part of it.
Yeah,
We've
we're a
done
part
the
of it.
training. We've done the travel up to the
Yep.
Northeast. We've done it all.
Yep.
So we're
Well,
not.
did that
it is what it
happen
is.
with your older kids, or was that just your younger?
So it's
When did this
interesting.
happen?
Yeah. So what's interesting is with our with our
Oh man.
old
Bob,
with our older son, travel existed. He's 28, so he was born in 1997. So when he was in middle school, elementary, it was just regular little league. And then middle school, he played for the school, and travel wasn't really prevalent yet. It
Well-
existed, but it wasn't. No one was talking about it. It wasn't like, so what travel team is he going to play for, or who's he trying? It wasn't common like that.
so that was
So-
15.
That was like
16
14, 13, 14. Yeah.
years.
So he played little league, and then for his middle school, but he didn't do travel.
But he showed an interest, and we hired that one dude to teach him how to pitch.
yeah,
Remember,
when was
that's
that?
Jake or something up in
Yeah.
New Jersey.
Oh yeah, that was for pitching. But
Yeah.
that was all we did with him. But our daughter, it was starting to get prevalent. She played travel soccer. That was a whole thing.
Hmm.
So we were in the travel soccer world for a while. So, and she was born in 2000. So I feel like it's more those. That's when it really picked
No,
up.
it really took off.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's more in like the early 2000s, and then now it's crazy now.
What's wild
So,
though, like if we've got there's a few nice parks here. We're in South Florida, so the weather's always nice. Say if we go over and throw a lacrosse ball or something at the park, there's guys there working on their drop back to be a quarterback. They're working on footwork, right? It's crazy. There's people there kicking field goals. There's soccer kids there, doing penalty or corner kicks,
Yeah.
to try to all that stuff. It's cool, but it is wild. Especially, you can relate to the Jersey thing. Me growing up there, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, you didn't have an intense
No.
focus on this one thing.
No, not at all.
No.
no,
Where these
no.
kids are specializing, it's cool, but it's wild.
Yeah.
You know.
And I
Yeah.
get it, and that's great if you can be you want to be that guy. But I think overall,
Yeah,
you just want to be well-rounded and
You do.
enjoy. You know what
you
I
do.
mean?
So I wanted to go back. You moved a lot.
Yep.
Out of all the states you lived in, is there one that you favored or that you have really strong memories from that time period? Because you were in Indiana, you were in Louisiana, you were in Jersey.
That's a great question. And it's got multiple different ways to answer that because I don't remember the Michigan, Indiana. I was young, but I think we moved to Louisiana when I was 4 or 5. So I can remember things about Louisiana in the later 60s that impacted me greatly. So I remember that as a young kid having some major influences. Nothing to do with sports or stuff like that at the time, but it was a big difference from the Midwest going to Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
What were some of the things?
There was a lot of racism.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember, and it ended up being, because I have to say this properly, the way that my parents walked me through it, the school that I went to, which was a Catholic school, was able to educate you on what's right and what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was buses that were white and black. There was restaurants that were white and black. And, people didn't treat various races, the black folks, well. And I can remember it being really a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that hurt because you didn't want anybody else to feel a bad thing. So I'm glad that I was left with that through my parents, that there's absolute no room for this. And to see it just, I can just remember, people talking down to a man who's got a son in front of him And I could think of that today, and it would just be, there's no room for that. So, not a great thing, but coming away from
Yeah.
that experience in Baton Rouge taught me to, I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Because how old were you during those years?
probably 6 to maybe 8
Those are formative years.
formative years.
Yeah.
So that was something that you carried with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, to this day.
Yeah.
To this
It's
day.
a pivotal moment.
Pivotal moment.
Yeah.
So I have such fond. I mean, Baton Rouge was cool, and it was just different. It was LSU, so I can remember the first football game I ever went to with my dad. LSU, Old Miss. So there's that in Baton Rouge, and then I really, Wilmington, Delaware seems to be a little stop off for us, So can't remember too much except for living near a school, and it was fabulous fun. New Jersey was outstanding.
So you
Outstanding.
were more a teenager, what, 70s, mid 70s?
Correct.
So were you into music?
No rhythm, I think our generation has some of the great,
Yep.
that,
Yeah.
know what I mean? The
Yeah.
band, you guys know. So I was into it that way, but I couldn't dance. My rhythm was poor, no musical aptitude, but huge appreciation, and surprisingly good at knowing what's good,
Yeah.
but
So what
nothing related to talent.
did you go see live music?
Oh yeah.
So what were some of the bands you saw?
Bob Seger, Supertramp, Bruce Springsteen, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Did you
uh,
see Led Zeppelin?
Never saw Led Zeppelin. In college, there was a lot of country rock, Marshall Tucker,
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Neil
What
Young,
about
Yeah.
Leonard Skinner?
Leonard Skinner, Tom Petty,
Allman Brothers?
Allman Brothers.
Did you see all of these?
I didn't see the Allman Brothers. I saw 3 of the 4 we just discussed. Yeah, they would come and, we lived near, we were close to Charlottesville. So you'd get a lot of good stuff coming
Yeah.
into Charlottesville. I think it was only 45 minutes away.
So
Yep.
you saw a lot of these bands in their prime, or as they were just starting.
Yeah, yeah.
If they're coming to colleges, they came to your college. to
Or
play?
I'd go up into Charlottesville and they'd had, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was, I forget who it was, 38 Special and,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and I think Neil Young, and it was a local type of thing.
And Charlottesville is a major stop.
It's a major
It's a
stop.
stop,
I
yeah.
think that's where a lot of it was.
Yeah.
So would you see them in big venues or in like a bar?
Bigger venues.
Bigger venue.
And then going back home into Maryland for, summer or for breaks and stuff, we'd cruise into the, DC and the Capitol Center. That's where I, saw Bruce Springsteen and some of the.
But it's all in that prime, like for us, because we were born in 71. So we're into that music. But for us, it was looking back on that. There was, and we have been able to see some of those bands live, but it's not in their prime, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So I've always
with
been
the original
envious.
members.
With the original members. I just have always been envious of people who were able, and probably kids that are older, like would be envious if we were able to see maybe Nirvana or Pearl Jam in their prime, because that's when we were in our 20s, early 20s. But I just think that time frame and music, I don't think has been replicated since.
Feels that way.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
my kids are listening to it. Other people,
Yeah.
or they're doing remakes of those songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
was that good time? I mean, you're 10 years younger. You said, okay, so was that Nirvana, all that stuff was good stuff going to see? I mean, do you feel like
So
you missed
we
something, or you feel
actually,
you still had a good ride?
at the time, the grunge movement came when we were 23, 22, 23, 24, maybe a little
we missed
younger.
it.
We didn't see those bands live because we
Yeah.
got married and started having kids and we were busy doing that. But that whole thing that was going on, it was happening when we were in our early 20s. And so
Okay.
the discovery of that music, like we were hearing it live on the radio for the first time, where kids now look back on that. Like it'd be like hearing Led Zeppelin on the radio for the first time. Like, so even though we didn't see Nirvana, we didn't see Pearl Jam, we're also huge Deadheads.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. So when we could see somebody live, we had the time, we went and saw the Dead or Dead cover bands or Allman Brothers. We saw the Allman Brothers at the Beacon in New York City. We used to go do that once a year.
Yep.
Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young,
Ugh.
Neil Young. I saw
think
Stevie Ray
we-
Vaughan before he died. So that I feel really
Yeah.
lucky about that.
I think we were the tail end of that, where they were probably still the original members
Yeah.
and they were still good, but they had aged a little bit. And then that whole grunge scene came on the scene, and music did change.
We saw
But
Bob Dylan, we saw Santana,
Oh,
yeah,
all that.
Yeah.
So
Dylan.
that's why our
It's
one
fabulous.
son's name is Dylan after Bob
Oh,
Dylan.
really?
Yeah.
And then you see that movie, which was just mind blowing recently. Did you see?
We haven't seen it yet.
You guys,
No, but it's Timothy Chalamet. I think it plays him.
amazing.
Yeah, I want to see
Oh,
it.
that's all I can say. And that music, you know, that
Yeah.
that they going really he was the transition point, as
Yeah.
you know, from that folk kind of.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, go see that movie. It is
Yeah.
phenomenal.
No,
the
I want to see
the
it.
Dylan movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Timothy Chalamet, I think, plays him
Fabulous.
amazing.
Really?
Fabulous. See it
So-
in a theater as opposed to if you can.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what's coming up? What's the date? There's that Dead movie that's coming out
Yeah.
in the theaters. So
In
we go
August.
that. They'll do, what do they call it? The night at the theater?
Grateful Dead Night at the Theater or
Yeah.
something like that. And it's all around the country on this one night. There's theaters in every town that plays
And they do it.
and they
Yeah.
pick a different
It's cool.
show. It's cool. So we go as a family. So, but anyways, I just think that's cool that you were able to really go see a lot of these bands
Just-
live.
And just experiencing the music.
Yeah.
You know, you were talking about the Dead. You got a lot of credit to them because a lot of the kids at college were going to see the Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they endured. They persevered.
Yeah.
Because what years would college have been for
80
you?
to 84.
For college for you
Yeah,
was 80 to 84.
correct.
And they were going to Dead shows.
They were going to Dead shows.
Yeah, and that's that early 80s.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. That
One
Oh,
of
there
my-
was a
yeah.
bunch, you know, because
Yeah.
yes,
One of my favorite shows. I went to RFK in DC and saw the Dead there. That was
I'm
amazing.
sure some of my friends might have been there because
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
you don't just go to one or two.
No. Oh, no.
we've
You
been
go
there
for
I
the
love
whole
it.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was Keith and Brent.
Yeah.
Those years, Keith
Yeah.
and Brent on the piano. Okay. We're getting sidetracked with music, which we do
I
a
do
lot.
have a question though.
Yeah.
I want to go back to your Louisiana days.
Sure.
So I've always known you as a kind, giving, open-minded person and a nice guy as well, right? Does that experience in Louisiana, how much does that intersay your lens today? And part of the question I have is, when you were there as a little guy, did you know it was wrong, that what you were seeing, and the parents helped you make sense of it? Or did they explain to you, this isn't right? That makes sense?
It does. To answer your question, it defined me, to be
Yeah.
honest, and I'm appreciative. And you know, I don't mean that makes me better than anything.
Mhm.
I'm just saying that absolutely defined me. And yes, my parents helped me, but I knew it was wrong. And I remember the look on the kid's face when they're chastising some man
Yeah.
who's not the same color, and it's wrong. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I was the beneficiary of being able to see it, but not having to be the person to
Yeah.
experience, and it never should be that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very, very fortunate that I was able to see it that way, because some people don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a huge, huge thing, and you know, when you look back at blessings in life, I think that helped all our family.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Just that time being there, seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, and we moved enough to know that there are differences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. No, that's again, like I said, just such a pivotal moment in your life. For
Totally.
Sure.
And again, wish it never happened, but couldn't be more thankful, because, you know, if everybody was just treating people right, you know, I know it sounds, you know, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what you.
It's as simple as that.
It really is.
Well, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
It's-
It really
yeah,
is.
yeah.
It really is.
A lot of things complicated, social
Yeah.
media platforms, things
Yeah.
we
Oh yeah.
But to the core,
Yeah.
it's that simple.
It's that simple. So when you were in college, what did you study?
It was like a marketing major and a minor in economics.
Okay. And at that time, as you're going through school, did you know what you wanted to do? Or were you just, I'm interested in this, so I'll get a degree in this?
Yeah, I think that I've always that type of guy, sales guy. I mean, I didn't know I was going to be a sales guy, but I didn't see me being engineering or have technical skills
Mhm.
Okay.
that led me down that path. My sister was super smart, valedictorian, 3-year high school, 3-year university in Maryland.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
Smarter than us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. My brother, engineer, smart, that kind of thing, you know? But they, you know, they weren't doing the same things I did as far as with the social life.
hmm
So
Did your younger siblings take more after you?
yeah,
Or
my sister went to Madison, James, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
were you
Interest-
there together?
Yeah.
Oh,
For
that's
she
cool.
came a year or two after, but it
Okay.
was cool. It was very cool.
You got to party with your sister?
A little bit. I think she thinks I did a little more than, I think she was a little more smart about I
Yeah.
was everywhere doing everything with everybody.
Yeah.
And she knew a lot of people, had a lot of friends, but she was also focused on being smart.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what about your younger brother?
He was great. I think he went to West Virginia for a couple years.
Oh,
and
that's a fun school.
Yeah, and then I forget where he graduated from for 2 years, but he played football and not in college, but at high school. He's high school quarterback. So he was my younger
So
brother.
they kind of were more like loose like you. So your older two were a little more responsible.
absolutely.
And then you kind of broke the mold.
That's exactly what.
Did you?
Yeah.
Were you the
Yeah.
corruptive force, or were just?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think, the good things you get in life, that some people just have this, they're calm and control and they come off. I'm pretty hyper. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I'm excited. I want to be in it and I'm nonstop. My parents would be just like, oh, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And not so much in a bad way, but, back to what about talking about my sister, especially when the kids were younger. I think that she became some of that because she had to be responsible
Yeah.
and she was. And, we're thankful that she was.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But at the same time, I'm glad I wasn't first because we,
yeah.
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
After
yeah.
school or after dinner, when you're 15 years old,
Yeah.
13 years old, 16 years old,
Yeah.
some of
Yeah.
the best times of the life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
funny.
you said you went 5 years, which in college, which I don't think back then was like now. That's so typical. Kids just try to go 5 years actually,
Yeah.
but back then
Well,
was
four
that
and a half. Remember I said,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
where it is. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, where did that extra year come from? Okay, so when you graduated, did you have a job already set?
You know what? That's a great question because it turned into this. Met my best friend, John Lenan, who happens to be the high school guy. Matter of fact, when I moved, it was hard. You mentioned earlier about moving and stuff.
Mhm.
10th grade, that was a little tough. You know what I mean? Took me under his wing pretty much so. Became best of friends, still are today.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, absolutely. So he helped me with the high school acclimation and bringing me into the group that the
Yeah.
sports people and it was like,
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
what's that Matthew McConaughey movie that they do where they're all in high school,
Dazed and Confused.
dazed and confused?
Yeah.
That was 100% us, more on the booze side
Yeah.
than the other side, but that's what it was like.
So Dazed and Confused is pretty accurate.
Pretty accurate.
That's one of my favorite movies.
We love that movie.
Yeah.
It's again, we were athletes, so there wasn't as much of marijuana at the time, and
Yep.
I'm not anti at all. Trust me, ran into that in college and it's great, right? But keg parties in the field, keg
Yeah.
parties at the reservoir,
Yeah.
Yep.
What about the fashion from that movie? Pretty accurate.
pretty accurate.
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And the cars.
Absolutely, I had
Yeah.
a Dodge Challenger.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was
Nice.
so classic, you guys. It was, again, not everything's always
Yeah.
perfect by any means, but boy, that's sure how I remember that.
What color?
It was white. When I bought it from a guy, I'll never forget it. Beautiful car. He had painted the San Francisco Bay Bridge on the car. So
No
here I
way.
am, 17 years old, and it was called the San Franciscan.
No
Wow.
way.
And I ended up painting over it because,
Yeah.
but at the same time, when you got it, it was a Hearst pistol grip.
Those are
Oh,
awesome.
those is,
Yeah.
again, even the car. I mean, I'm so surprised that I'm survived.
They were fast and dangerous. They didn't
were-
handle well, but you could go fast.
You could
Yeah.
go fast.
We
And-
were lucky enough to have some of those cars still around when we got into high school. Like my buddy had an old Camaro.
Oh, beautiful.
My best friend's brother had the Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am. He had a blue one. We're driving down the parkway once in New Jersey doing like 85, 90 miles an hour. He floors it and we spun out racing a what's one of those other crazy muscle cars? I can't remember.
Like a
but
Camaro.
or Mustangs or
something like that.
Gran Torino.
No, something like that.
Did you have an 8-track?
That's what it started with, and then it went to cassette. I think
Okay.
right about
Yeah, yeah.
that time.
Okay, but you did have the 8-track before you
You
went
know,
to cassette.
God, that was such a small part, but I do remember like in the middle of the song clicking over. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool that Dazed and Confused is
And
authentic.
but it was the big thing, after a Friday night sporting event, everybody went, whether it was football, wrestling, basketball, and you'd go to the reservoir. Oh God, this was great.
And you just like, how many kegs?
Yeah.
Depending upon what was going on or the time of year, because winter a little bit different.
Yeah.
But and they were good kids. There wasn't a lot of bad things, but you were very fortunate because I think right when I was either graduating or in high school is when they started, the drinking and driving wasn't smart.
Yeah.
Wasn't smart.
That picked up in earnest by the time we got through. Yeah.
Thank God.
Actually, wasn't the drinking age lower were you like,
It
wasn't
was
it
18, but
18?
because of accidents,
Yeah.
they moved it up to 21 relatively quickly.
So did you were you able to drink when you were 18 before they
Yes.
moved it up?
Yes.
Okay. So you were part of that.
Yes.
And then they moved it up. Not
Yes.
that stopped you from drinking, but they
Correct.
moved it up. Right. Because we've only known 21. So you were there when that whole
I
transition.
think that it's smart that they did that because of maturity, but I
Yeah.
also realize if you can go to war and fight and do all these things, who am I to judge? But from a safety standpoint,
Yeah.
I think we're all very, sometimes you're just fortunate, but if you're one of the unlucky ones and make a mistake,
Yeah.
that's a bummer because you don't want that to happen to anybody.
Absolutely.
But I
not.
mean, we would have people, those little consoles they had, and they were bigger consoles. I mean, just where you, like nowadays, you put your keys or you
Yeah.
But I mean, they'd have ice in them and you'd have your beers in them. And it was just it was Dazed and Confused, you guys.
Like roadies were normal, just to bring a roadie.
Totally.
Everyone had a beer.
Everyone had a beer.
Yeah.
There wasn't liquor. I can't remember until really later in college, quite frankly. But it was the beer. For
Everyone had
sure.
We
beer.
caught the tail end of that. We still got exposure to that, but by then there
Little
was
bit.
a lot more.
There was a lot more
moms
laws,
against
rules.
drunk driving.
Did you
Yeah.
guys get keg parties and stuff?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
did. Yeah, we were in the
Fabulous.
field. Like
Yeah.
you'll see Gen Xers talk about, our parents thought we were spending the night at someone's house and we were passed out in a field somewhere. So we had that experience, with kegs and
We did more
all
houses.
that. You guys did more houses.
Yeah.
And we had house parties too.
Cul-de-sacs.
But we did because I grew up in Oregon, so there were fields. There were like timber
Wow.
fields or forests. You could go but we did have house parties
Yeah.
too. But you grew up in a rural area, but it was a smaller town, so I think the cops were more on you guys if you were in a field. They
There
would've
weren't
found
as
you
many
guys.
fields. There were cul-de-sacs. So
Yeah.
I think where I grew up, where I used to play in streams and woods, it's all houses now. So they were building it all back then. So you go up to a dead end. We had party balls back then.
Yeah.
Or we'd go to
Those
like
were
the
easy.
Glen or the, have just that beer or whatever. But people's houses, local kids who would be in a band. That was fun stuff.
Yeah. No, those were the days.
That's great stuff.
Great.
So you were talking about your friend though that took you under his wing. Did he?
Well, so he took me under his wing.
Yeah.
The other roommate who was a New Yorker, who's Wayne Hall, best friend as well. To this day, we talk twice a week at least.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
So when he graduated probably a half a year or so before me and went and worked for, at the time they sold like software to schools. It was the time where the computers just like the Apple just got developed and all these type of things.
That was like 84, 85,
That
86.
is correct.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly correct. So I went up there and we did a lot of technology for years.
Okay.
And it was great. Lived at his house the first year.
Cool.
So this is post-college.
Post-college.
You lived with these guys.
Yep.
In the city?
No, outside of the city in Huntington, Long Island.
Oh, in Long Island.
Yeah,
Okay.
in Long Island.
And then so what'd you do for your job?
We ended up starting a software services company called 4S Systems.
Wow.
Yep. And it went really well for a lot of years. At one point had up to 50 people. And we ended up having some issues on selling hardware products because a lot of it was based upon chips. And at the time, memory chips would fluctuate like that. So that wasn't the good business to be in. So divested ourselves from that, a little bit painful to be quite honest, but we had a services entity where we did a bunch of cabling and we'd put bodies on site.
Yeah, that's money.
Yeah. So that happened. I think we did this for 12 years. And at that point, it was you weren't making what you wanted to make. It wasn't going to be the dream come true that you wanted, although it provided well for a lot of years. And at that time, people that we met in the field, either selling products to or becoming part of the industry, is when my life changed in such a great way from career-wise. I went to work for Cisco Systems when they first started getting wind under their wing. So here I am, I'm 30s, and I've got a global job working out of Penn Plaza, Madison Square Garden, servicing Wall Street, servicing financial things, learning from a company that, had this leader, John Chambers, who was just an incredible businessman and bought companies and did acquisitions better than anybody, at least that I've ever come across. And I'm sure there's a bunch of success stories, rightfully so, but he was known in the industry. So he would always acquire these companies, build them into the mix, and Cisco went off like a rocket ship.
What years, when was that, 90s?
Yes, that was 96.
Okay, they did blow up then.
They had bought a communications company, a French company that had this telephone line. So it was the first time there was competition to companies like Avaya, Brian.
Yeah.
And I know Cisco's phones, but I mean, it's turned into, they bought a computing platform, and now their servers are, they're right up there with some of the biggies. So I was able to see and experience that, and that allowed me to travel because I was in New York City. I was able to service accounts that had a lot of, meat on the bone. So we'd go out to California several times a year, give them executive briefings, take them up to Napa Valley, have the wife come out on the tail end. It was wonderful. And then very, very fortunate to become a global account manager. So I was able for like 6-8 years, travel the world.
So just to go back, so you guys start this software company, which I'm still like, that's so cool that you did that right out of college. Really, this is all kind of new, right? In the late 70s, mid-late 70s into early 80s, this whole computer IT stuff is new, right? So you're right there. And then you said for the next 12 years, you handled a business that handled cabling.
No, well, that was just a component of one of the services. It was like we would get bodies and they would come in and train people on how to use, like, if you can remember, again, you're 10 years younger. Guys are so young. But it's like the first time, like everything was Lotus 1, 2, 3. If you remember that. Yeah. And it was at the time the multi-made word perfect. So these software packages came out that revolutionized everything. You know what I mean? It's
they went from the green screen, as everybody calls it, the black screen with the white text. Back then it was green text.
Yeah.
Right? Then what you're describing is that shift from that to actual Windows and a mouse and a keyboard.
So you were a part of that?
Part of that.
So you would sell that software?
That is correct.
So you'd go to businesses?
Correct.
And they would have that traditional black screen with the green writing, when you type, right? Am I picturing this right? Because I'm not IT, so you're talking.
No, you got it. So you're doing good.
Yeah, through osmosis, sometimes I understand what things he's saying. And then you would say, "Look at this! Look at this amazing software and what it can do." And like, were people blown away?
Blown away. And think about this. Here's
email, right? But you were pre-email. That was the email, the foray into email.
Because did that software have email? Did it introduce email?
It didn't. No, what we're saying is the green screen, no email. It was just
Yeah.
Then there was probably some messaging app, but it wasn't nearly as sophisticated and simple as
100%
email.
wasn't like, these word processors or spreadsheets that, accountants used to pen and pencil and calculators. So I look back and it was so good. And, I've been very fortunate, but at the same time, made some mistakes because we could have really capitalized. If we would have not been 4 guys that got together and started a business that all just said, grow, 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 give credit to people, trust, all these things like you needed, like the business that I work for nowadays, that Brian's aware of, the leader and his partner, the partner's a very good accountant, CFO. We needed things like that because at that time, you guys, there was so much great opportunity. If you remember Y2K, and everybody was so concerned that when that clock went from 99 to 2000, that your systems didn't work. Yeah. So people spent a fortune to upgrade their
billions.
Yeah, and we were the recipients of that.
No, that's good.
No question.
Yeah.
So you were out there selling software so that people could be confident that their whole system wasn't going to fail once it went from 1999 to
Right.
2000.
There was a mix of, at that time, what became popular just prior to that was the local area network. So what that meant is that people were now connected to one another via computers, and it was
Yeah.
all wired. There was no wireless. But
Yeah.
if you can imagine the gain in productivity from going from single computers, and they're only just single computers, so you didn't really share anything unless you gave someone a floppy disk or
Yeah.
some of those things.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it went to connected. So it was steps along the way, but
The
it was really
LAN.
big because businesses got a lot more effective and efficient leveraging technology.
So,
Yeah.
so you had the
yeah.
body shop setting up LANs,
Yes.
and then the Y2K
Correct.
stuff.
Correct.
And that Y2K stuff was amazing in terms of money because everyone was nervous, and they would hire people. You were probably putting people on site to go through old software code, the green screen code, line by line, to make sure that it would handle 4 digits instead of 2.
Correct.
It's really what it was all about, right?
Correct.
It went from 2 digits, 99. Everyone assumed 1900, and then it went to 2000. That's the whole problem. So they
Right.
had people going through lines of code. I worked for a company, they made tons of money. And then once it happened, and it was
Nothing
this
happened.
big dud, right?
Big
There was
dud.
this non-event. They fired all those people, and their stock tanked, and they had to diversify.
Well,
But that's when the dot-com dot-com blew up.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's
But-
exactly correct.
but did everything not fail because of all this?
Yeah.
Because of the steps that were taken? So was it a dud?
A combo. Actually, would you say it was a
Yeah.
combo? Because there was some truth to it, but a lot of
I
fear.
think that you needed to do it because
Mhm.
if you didn't and it didn't work, you would have been, who wants to be that person that didn't
Yeah.
didn't address
So it's like
an
a
issue?
gamble.
It would be a gamble. But
Yeah.
to Brian's point, it might not have been near as catastrophic as it was sold, but catastrophic away.
Yeah.
Because one, budgets were available.
Yeah, totally.
So it was good. And I worked for Cisco at that point in Y2K. And, everybody, yeah. So, but anyway, prior to your question, we were selling, bodies to train people.
Yeah. So
on
you
these programs.
you actually were. I mean, it's fascinating to think of that time in your life, your generation, where you guys are on the forefront of that. Someone your age, right?
Correct.
So to go from that, I was just getting into my career, and I was at a company that was doing that, and then the .com, just the internet exploded, and being at Cisco for that, that's a straight up trajectory, right? And that's when Chambers was
Yep.
doing all that stuff.
Well, at one point, they were the most valued company in the
Yeah,
world. And
yeah.
it changed quick because, there was a bust, right?
Yeah,
Because they were all overvalued.
yeah,
They were, you only sell what your revenue was this, your profit was this. But
Yeah.
they were doing multipliers that didn't make sense. So there had to be a readjustment.
but Cisco at the time, Cisco at the time displaced Avaya phones, Fujitsu phones, everybody. You pick up a phone, you watch TV now, all those phones you see, Cisco.
Yeah.
You look at the White House phone of when the president's sitting in the whatever the Oval Office is,
Correct.
it's a Cisco phone.
So that brings me to for listeners who are not know nothing about technology, they know nothing. How would you describe to someone what Cisco does? What is Cisco?
A company that enables you to do business in a very efficient and effective way. And they do that by utilizing automation and software programs that kind of like what you're used to. Your iPhone now does everything. So you can imagine that just prior to this, if someone would call, there wasn't voicemail, they'd get a sticky and they would give that to you. But business still moved because you got the message and you responded to it. But there was no connection and there was no immediate response. So I would say that Cisco just provided all those kind of infrastructure elements and software systems, really operating systems, but that enabled people to have software programs on them that enabled you to do things that you couldn't ever do before. So
Okay.
businesses could get into markets they didn't serve before. Businesses could expand because it wasn't this big jump to have to put a facility there. You could have a location and just you're connected to it. So it really changed the playing field. And I think, Brian, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you're in the glass house now, right? The CIO really only got in the glass house when all this happened. the chief information officer. It used to be the CFO.
Yeah.
There was no, the chief operating officer, the chief executive, but then all of a sudden IT became that important. And the CIO in the later 90s or maybe early 2000s, he was sitting at the table, and that wasn't happening before.
And that was around the Y2K time. Do you think
correct.
Y2K had a lot to do with it?
Probably.
With what everything was, they're like, let's bring this person needs to be just as important as everyone else.
I think so.
Because of what's going on. So you were there at the birth of so much of this.
The internet.
So it really, like
It's
you
crazy.
remember life before the internet.
I do.
And then you were there, which we do too.
Yeah,
We do too. But professionally though, and then so professionally, how did your career change as technology grew? How did it affect your career? Not just opportunity wise, but just hands-on, your daily life. Like you were there when there was an email, then there was email and all these different things. Like, how did it affect you?
I think overall, and I may be unique to some degrees because of the career path that I took being a salesperson, but you know how everybody used to have to, 2 hours in from the island into New York City, you needed to be at your office.
Mhm.
Technology allowed you didn't have to be there as long as you were being productive. So I could still help my wife raise the kids and work out of home.
Okay.
So that was key. But even more importantly, and again, what a blessing to become a global account manager. I serviced Price Waterhouse when they merged with Cooper Lybrand. So if you think about it, now they're all part of this big four, whatever they are, big three now. But it was two 75,000 person firms merging. So they had locations in 152 countries. So I'm the global account manager for that account that was the auditor, did the books for Cisco. So here I am, this guy, I get this job where I'm flying around the world. I have a global gateway account manager, somebody that knew the language, somebody that knew, what's the right word, the traditions and etiquette, so I wouldn't, you know what I mean?
Oh, so you're saying as you went to different countries, you had a companion or a kind of a consultant to say, okay, make sure to bow, take your shoes off here.
Like a cultural.
And they called them Global Gateway because it was one for Europe. There was one for Asia. It was. So, I mean, think about it. I'm able, and here I am. Woo!
Yeah.
And that person loves it because here I am. I'm whatever. And here's what's the greatest thing about it. So this is from my standpoint why I was so fortunate as well, because financially that was great. But because we sold to them millions and millions, and because they did Cisco's books, it had to be, I learned how to ethics for everything. And John Chambers would come into the street and do our numbers every quarter. And I got to sit in the back room when he was going to different accounts and help you sell. So, and I don't want to make more than that it is, but for several years, that man would come in every quarter. And most of the times let's go visit MetLife. Yeah. Let's go visit Equitable and watch.
That's interesting because I've never known that. But you've always spoken highly of him and how you're just like
love him.
Yeah, like you've always spoken highly of him. I've been an admirer of his as sort of the client side, because to your point, this guy blew up tech, right? He changed the world in terms of just how the world works. And you asked how would you describe Cisco? I would say it's slightly different from the client side. They made the internet work. The internet does not work without Cisco's routers and switches, and now it's their telemetry, voice stuff. They got rid of the POTS line for the most part. There's other players there, but Cisco would have bought them and made it better and blew it up. But that explains to me now why you're such a fan of his and why you look up to him so much. He would come in. You're on these big multi-million-dollar accounts,
correct?
Strategic accounts, global accounts. He rolls in, JD. Let's go do this. And you're kind of, he's helping you make it happen.
Well, honestly, he had people, and yes, he would know my name, but realistically, there was because it was growing so big, everything was orchestrated properly, and he'd come in, everything was set. But he'd go see accounts that I had, or again, he was why I like John Chambers so much. He was a good man. He was a good man, and he put good people around. And we were all talking about how the internet blew up yesterday with that couple
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh my
And you know what I
gosh.
mean? That would never happen in a John Chamber.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, think
the
about
people at Coldplay.
You've
Yeah.
seen it, right?
I have.
Oh,
I see stuff
wow.
about a week before Brian. So sometimes I'm like, have you seen it yet? You've
No,
seen it.
that one hit the press.
Oh, it's
Well,
everywhere.
she's the head of HR.
Yeah.
I mean, could it get any worse?
No.
I mean,
Well,
it
the
really,
problem's not hers. She's
no,
it's
but
his.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, trust
Yeah,
me.
but it blows up families.
It does.
no, it's
Oh, his
terrible.
wife had his last name off her socials that
Yeah,
morning.
that morning.
Yeah, I mean, and you can't do anything anymore, by the way.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the other thing.
things
It's
have
like,
changed, and that's where it,
and
Yeah.
things have really changed. Well, now what's funny is I've seen on social media different like Morgan Wallen and different musicians that are playing live right now the last few nights, and they'll say, okay, our camera's going to go around. So if you're here with your secretary, separate.
That's crazy.
And they're giving warning, like and then there's people at like baseball games and men have signs that say, this is my wife. This is my wife.
my sister. So don't. That's
Yeah,
great. That's
that's
great.
my sister, it's so, no, but you're right. So because you've been there from the very start and have gone along the journey of technology as it's grown from the aspect of sales.
Yep.
And you continue, I assume, to go on this journey. And I'm assuming it continues to challenge you. And you're kind of always at a little bit of a learning curve every few years.
Correct.
How,
Accurate.
How would you say that has helped you stay young at heart and young in your mind because you're always kind of plugged into what's going on,
Absolutely.
and that it's
Absolutely.
helped you feel still connected with the present day of what's happening?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you probably have to know. Just I wouldn't say as much as like Brian's in IT. He's more technical, but you probably do have to know almost as much in order to be able to sell it, right? Like you
I-
can't fix it if it breaks necessarily, but you need to be able to know a lot about what you're selling.
Yes, I have good people around me, so I can't really tell you that I'd be that guy that knows all
Yeah.
what's behind it. But you know what? And Brian, chime in if you because that'd be good to know. But I like to think that one, you appreciate people that are buying from you, and when you have this relationship with them where it's mutually respectful, even though I'm selling to them,
Mhm.
it makes for this partnership that you really want your client to win. And of course you will as a salesperson or the company you're working for, because you're doing quality work.
Mhm.
So I've always just wanted to provide a very good experience that goes long term, because then you get relationships with people. You're spending a lot of time with folks that aren't your family, your after hours and things that are enjoyable. But at the same time, I still understand my role as a salesman. And I look at that as bringing the right resources and making sure my client's good. I do that more like a quarterback
Mm.
than the technical side. Because honestly, why I went to college on the marketing side and
Yeah.
why I was out that door as a young, I'm not that guy that can sit there and go, oh, yeah, this nanobite that talks to that. And I do
Right.
kind of understand a lot of the way that works because over time, but I'm just like, where's my engineer?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot
So
of people don't. There's a lot of salesmen that are a lot more technical
yeah,
for sure.
but you're probably more knowledgeable than you realize.
I think so because I have
Yeah.
adapted to, like you said, changing technologies,
Yeah.
and I see a lot of people my age that not they fear it, but they don't utilize it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love a lot of things, the video and audio on this phone, and the pictures I'm capturing of the family and these
Right.
things, and how to message them, or
Mhm.
it's fantastically powerful when you really think about it. So I won't be great about behind the scenes, but I do understand to your point.
So as far as sales, you just described a lot of the reasons why you enjoy it, as far as the relationship with your clients and that you're coming with good intentions. You're selling them something that's going to truly help them.
Correct.
You're not just selling to sell. You have a meaning behind what you're
Correct.
selling. There's meaning behind it.
Selfishly too,
Of course.
because you know what it
Yeah.
does. If you do well,
yeah, of course.
it helps.
Of course.
Yeah, it
of
feeds
course.
the family. But
You're selling with integrity.
and you know what? I wouldn't be as hopefully as good if there wasn't passion behind what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause-
absolutely.
And I do see what you're saying, because some people it's just a job.
Yeah.
I look at it different. Now I work for a person that I worked with at Cisco, who's just a wonderful man
Mhm.
and built a great company. So there's that, again, respect, relationship. and delivering to your client good stuff. So it kind of feels like been a win-win. To your point, there's components of that need to be done right. So
Yeah, it has. I mean, there's some authenticity to it,
absolutely.
and you're proud. You're proud of the business. You're proud of what you're doing, and that probably has contributed significantly to your success because people can see through it if it's not that way.
Think you're correct.
So, you know. So, is there also though for yourself personally? Do you enjoy that hit of making the sale?
Totally.
Yeah. Do you like to gamble?
No.
Okay, that's so interesting because our older son is a salesman and he likes to gamble, not in a bad way. He doesn't have a problem, but he likes to go with his friends to the casino and stuff. And my father gambled, my great grandfather, my grandfather. And I think one of the reasons he enjoys sales is because that hit is similar to when you hit when you're gambling. Yeah. So I've wondered. Yeah, I've wondered if salesmen in general like to also gamble because it's like the same hit. I've always wondered that, and you've been doing it for so many years. So I didn't know if you've known other sales guys that like to gamble, not as a problem, just for fun.
No, I understand your point. I think people find different, entertainment. That's all good. I always looked at it that you work too hard to risk that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like the environment being around, but no, I'm not. And it might be also that I don't sit still real good, like play board games with family members or things that are great to see. I'm moving.
So have you always been like that since you were a little kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sports was good for you.
Great for me.
Okay. And sales would be like that, right?
Sales would be
because it's that next chase, that next thing, that next thing.
And that got back to when you answered that question. Did you know what you're going to be? No, but yeah.
Yeah, you knew you had to do something where you're hustling and moving.
Exactly.
And are you an extrovert?
Yeah.
Like you enjoy meeting new people and talking to them.
Oh, yeah.
No matter where you are.
No matter where you are.
Yeah. So you have all the components.
I do. And I've learned too, because like I said, I've been very fortunate. My wife's family is dynamite. There's a bunch of successful people in there. And I saw how they've interacted with people. I've been able, as I told you, to travel and see how they interacted with people. So I hope that we're doing that right. But yeah, I'm definitely out there jumping around and
so when you were
greeting.
Okay, when you were traveling around the globe for work, what countries, like what would you say were your top countries?
I love to reminisce on it because once I get closer to retirement, I want to do more. I was so lucky that I was the type guy that when you had meetings, there was always be like a Thursday, Friday, and a next Wednesday, right? You got these certain people that would come in and out. God bless them. I get it. I wasn't that guy. I'm going to do the right thing, but at the same time, I'm going to see I'm here.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of the times, because we had my wife's family in particular, would help us with the kids. My wife would join us on the tail end. And that was wonderful. She loved to travel. We loved to travel together. But I'd have to say Europe has always just been phenomenal. I loved my, experiences in Asia, but I love the feel of history in Italy and France. I love the comfort of speaking English in England. Not that a lot of other countries don't, because a lot of them do, but I just love that for some reason. So Europe was where I felt most, I loved that. But seeing the other cultures was great because it really made me feel that much more, boy, we're a great country we have. Even though there's bumps. And it was interesting even all those years ago to hear people what they thought of as good and bad. There was still like, you know what, you guys are something.
So did you feel that like, because it feels like now there's a lot of hate America stuff outside of America, but when you were traveling, you're saying that you encountered more pro-America?
Yeah. But there was also negative. If you guys remember that show like Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, these things, they play these things like that. But like if you go to a Parisian restaurant, right? And, I can remember walking because I love what a city. The people would snap their fingers for a waiter, and you never do that in Paris. And you knew they were American. And it just means you're not being, and the reason I bring Dallas, because, they'd be sitting there and, you'd have your boots up on the table.
Yeah.
There's certain things etiquette-wise you just don't do. So I think they think that there was some of that. And because we were for lack of a better word, but top dog, a lot of,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? People would look for that, but I think there was also a lot of respect, and especially if you handled yourself properly. And like I said, I was so fortunate to be able to have a gateway account manager to be like, listen,
Yeah, right.
you wait your turn. If you're going to sit
Yeah.
there and show them that you want the bill real quick, you're going to wait longer.
Yeah.
So, and it's cool.
Yeah.
Greatest country where I love Italy. I think Italy is
Mm.
the cat's meow of countries, and it's a gift.
Yeah. Did you go? So you did Europe, you did Asia. Did you go to China?
I didn't. Was never able to go to China. I didn't get to Japan. Want to do that, but a lot, Vietnam and Thailand
cool.
and Hong Kong, Australia was a trip. Whoa, God, I love those people.
I've always wanted to go to Australia.
Oh, you guys.
It's on my list.
Yeah, we need to do that.
I really want to go to Australia.
It's what a country. You obviously once you start getting on the, what do you call that? The western side, or how Sydney and is the coast that
You're out on the
Yeah.
sticks side. I
the
think.
sticks
Yeah.
side. I'm not so I didn't do that per se,
Yeah.
but I mean there's some crazy nature. But I mean, oh my God, talk about just beautiful environment and people that just seem to get how to enjoy
Yeah.
done right, because
Yeah.
they're also successful at what they do. So
Yeah.
that was right up there too. And it's an English speaking, and again,
Yeah.
not knowing other languages. And God, I wish that's one of the regrets I have. I wish I learned
Yeah.
languages, because I think there's power in that.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
But again, going there and being comfortable, because again, there's people in different countries. France is a great example. Unless you got the right thing, they really don't want to help you out unless you're, making some effort, which is
yeah.
But you can get by in France with just English. I found you can. I've been in Hong Kong and even China. You can get by
Yeah.
with English.
Yeah, now there's tools that can help you. But I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Yeah.
if you're that person that is being kind of abrupt or rude
Yeah.
to a
You can't be an
Parisian
asshole.
Yeah,
cab
no.
driver,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's going to act like I don't understand you. At least that's my experience.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I just think, again, it's just
Yeah.
approach it properly and be respectful, because you are in somebody else's country.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to South America?
Latin America. That's
Mhm.
about it. That's
Yeah.
about it. I have not made it down there. We didn't do a lot of business down there for some reason. And it seemed like I was traveling on behalf of PricewaterhouseCoopers for Cisco.
Okay. Yeah.
And they were much larger in Europe and Asia.
What about Africa?
Never. That'd be a dream too.
So how many years did you do this traveling?
I think about 8.
It's a long time.
It was wonderful.
Wow.
It was wonderful.
That is so
That
cool.
is cool.
So so we covered your when you graduated and you worked, but when in there did you meet your wife?
I have one question really
Yeah,
quick.
shoot.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm real curious on that front too. But in terms of the sales approach, you started young right out of college,
Correct.
and what do you think's changed for you over that time? And I think what I was thinking is she was asking you about your technical, are you technical? Can you do it? Have you always had the same approach, or when did it maybe kick off and evolve to where you're really more client relationship management more so than I'm going to sell you something, right? It's never, I've got this product, I want you to buy it. It's more like, how can I help? What problems do you have? What solutions can I bring you, right? I think that's more your approach. How long did it take before you got there, would you say?
Great question, because this will help your boy.
Mhm.
Okay. Being a relationship person, I want to hang out with them. They want to hang out with me. So if you have a connection that, hey, whether it's you're going out, you're taking them out, or you're golfing, or, and again, there's certain people that don't, you don't have to have that kind of relationship,
Yeah.
but whatever that is, if you find the tie that binds, you're already at bat. You're already on first, second base.
Yep.
So I was always that guy. I was in play.
Yeah.
I'd hang out with people that were in play. I'm not saying we were better than anybody, probably thought we were, but the net of it is we just were, it was great to meet people, and it was great to kind of connect.
Yeah.
So that's first. And then second, to your point, over time, Brian, you realize that only takes you so far. It can be a door opener. The company you work for can be a door opener. But the reality is what's my value to them?
Yeah.
And that did take some time. But I think that if what I know now, I wish I would have known then, was understanding, like you said, take the time to understand what's important to your client.
Mhm.
And, before I would be, I'm not taking the time to read somebody's financial things and understanding where they're going. And realistically, that's powerful, especially children nowadays, or excuse me, young adults. There's so much information out there. You can Google things and find out, oh, by the way, I hear you got this initiative. I never knew those kind of things.
Yeah.
So the value proposition is key. But I also think where you really get good at it, because no matter how good your company is, or no matter how it never seems to rain, you're going to run into situations where, your company or you, or it was an act of God where good things didn't happen. How you handle it then is more important than how you handle it when everything's going great.
Yeah, I think it's actually a great point. Even in the non-sales world, right? How you deal with adversity and treat the people around you during those weird times, or just how you handle it, really starts to define you then more so than when things are good. No doubt about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a great point. So how much would you say self-awareness comes into play as a salesman?
A lot more than I gave it credit for. And great that you bring that up, because that's probably a weakness of mine. I kept going without evaluating. It naturally happened that I think I got better at what I did, but the self-awareness, I didn't take time to really go down that path. I would listen to people who'd mentor and give me help, but I just seemed to be moving on and not really evaluating, unless it was, obviously critical or something like that. But it's good to think that you could get yourself in a better place by doing more of that. But
and then how much would you say delusion helps? And when I say that, I mean fake it till you make it. Like, just believe in yourself and just go for it. So it's like, I feel like it's a balance between self-awareness and delusion almost, because if you're too self-aware, you can get analysis paralysis, where you're like, oh, I can't do it, or you overthink it. But then if you are too delusional, then you're not authentic anymore. Would you say that's accurate? Like that balance of the two?
no, I think
Does that make sense?
it does. And, I haven't, again, really thought too much about it, but since we're talking about it, you're making a really good point. Because if you think about that balance would make for a very good rep. Somebody that's willing to put themselves in play, somebody that's evaluating themselves to be smart. And then, what's interesting about it? You can be lucky a lot too. I got lucky inheriting an account that was one of the biggest accounting firms, or what do they call them, consulting firms at that time. And then being able to work with a company leader. So there's a lot of luck, and luck you can put yourself in play. And that happens, but it's probably a very good mix of that. I never looked at it that way as much. And I probably could because I really do. I always look at myself, and I think I was a good sales rep, but not a great rep. And it's not because I'm not a really good guy and I care, because I'm a good quarterback, but never took the time to keep, how am I working day to day to get better? The guy that I work for now, that's a leader, but also a very good family friend. He's good at, what's your pre-call planning? Did you sit there afterwards and then send that follow-up email? And those ones that do it are good, because they're taking the time before and after to really spend some time looking at what they just did instead of moving on to next. So I always moved on to next. Somewhat successfully, rather successfully, but the hitters would do the mix of the three things that you just said, that balance.
The other thing too, though, where you're going as well, is that's an entrepreneurial trait of, I'm going to go sell it. And if I get it and I land it and it's like, oh, wow, all right, it happened. Now let's make it happen. So they're willing to fake it a little bit, right? I'm going to let you think I'm bigger than I really am. And if you bite, I'm going to make sure I make it happen. And
that makes sense.
Right. Because if you don't, then, then you're not that.
Yeah.
Because there is risk in that. But there's probably a bigger upside, quite frankly.
Totally.
And you can't hesitate, because then you create doubt with your client, right? And you have to at least appear you believe 100% in what you're selling without hesitation.
Yeah. I'd be that guy that couldn't work for a company that wasn't.
You gotta deliver.
And there's no question. You want a good product, a good service being delivered, and don't compromise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there are good companies, and you want to be with the good company that makes good product, but also great culture. And then then you're life's that much more enjoyable for sure.
Yeah, because would you say that for a salesman that wants to be truly successful, they need to be working for a company they believe in and that they enjoy? And if they're working for a company that they're miserable at or they're not satisfied, it's going to affect their growth as a salesperson?
Absolutely. But I think it also bleeds into other areas that may be more important. If you're not happy, how does that help your health? If you're not happy, how does that help your relationship with your spouse?
Yeah.
How does that help you with your kids? So I think it's a whole package deal type of thing from my perspective. I think you need to be healthy. I think you need to be challenged. I think you need to be, and all those kind of things. And it's not saying that's easy, but I don't want to be in a culture where they're not paying it forward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not saying you have to be, UNICEF or are they even around anymore?
I think so.
But you
We
get
we
what I'm trying to
yeah,
say,
yeah, I
right? I
do.
want
I
you,
absolutely do, yeah.
I just, I
Yeah.
want our company, they pay it forward. They do the right thing.
So, in your experience, I'm sure you've come across a lot of different salespeople. Have you encountered salespeople that their whole world is falling apart personally, but they're still out there grinding, and you think that what's going on personally has affected them professionally?
Absolutely. But really, definitely, but also the other way around.
In what way?
That you're saying they're still grinding. I think that kind of caused it. Do you know what I mean? In other
Mm,
words, it's
That self-fulfilling
it's
prophecy
self-fulfilling.
that
You know what I
creates
mean?
a
Get
negative
yourself. I
cycle.
mean, why is that happening? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
yeah,
But yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I have this kind of personality, probably addictive to be quite honest. It served me well and also created some challenges. So I'll see the reason I bring that up is because you'll see sales reps that, they're not doing the right things, eating too much, drinking too much, staying out too much, putting themselves in situations that aren't healthy. And I understand you learn with age how to make better decisions, but the net of it is the ones that make bad decisions in those categories, it goes right down the path you talk about. They're not healthy. They're not happy. They may be working fine and stuff like that. But boy, I don't know how that,
yeah.
you may be wired and that's okay. But I don't see a lot of that. I see a lot of people trying to do the right thing and,
Hmm.
trying to, and there are some more driven and there's reasons for it, but you can tell if someone's going to be, you know what I mean? If they're not handling things right and it looks like they're going to hit a wall or something like that.
Is it a hard thing to fight where especially if you're traveling and so you're meeting new people, you're out to dinners, you're doing all these fun things? Is it Can it be hard for certain people, do you think, to then have to downshift when they're home and just slow down a little bit because you're always on, you're always talking to people. There's always new and exciting stimuli coming at you. And then when you get home to your family, when people who sell come home to their family, they're living the more monotonous day-to-day life. Do you think that can be hard for some salespeople, that transition?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you think sometimes then they end up taking on more work and being gone more because that's easier than being home?
I imagine so. That kind of gets back to, well, how do you handle that relationship at home? How is your relationship with your spouse? Are you doing the right thing to make sure that that person's needs are being met?
Yeah.
And then the kids. So you got to make sure you figure that all right, because you don't want it to go down a path where it doesn't work
Yeah.
out because of it. But certainly, I think you're 100% right that it could go down that path.
Yeah.
It just because you're right, you got to be on. But if you think about nowadays, right? Like, I think you were talking the other day about, technical problems and you had to be on phone calls for whatever. So even though you're working from home, that's a tough
Yeah.
thing. And the next day you're shot because you were on calls. So there's a mixed bag of that. So you got to get both,
Yeah.
right? Whether, it's good that you can be remote. It's good if you're going in, you find the balance, but the net of it is you got to be able to find that balance so that you're healthy,
Yeah.
right? You do
Yeah.
that through your sports or whatever you're doing, your cold plunge, your yoga,
Yeah.
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 taking the wife out, your relationship with friends and finding a good balance.
A
Because
good
you're right, there
balance.
is a heavy load. And you know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
so happy my wife was able to stay at home until the kids left high school and raise the kids, which she did phenomenal on. And that, I've definitely felt pressure to produce.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think it did create some issues. Absolutely.
Yeah,
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 absolutely.
yeah.
It's a
Because
valid point.
yeah, because it's such a delicate balance, and especially if you have one spouse who I remember when he traveled, there was you didn't do this again after that, but he called me from Madrid from like a bar to tell me how wonderful everything is, and our kids were like three and 6, and I'm making mac and cheese and have to give baths and everyone's screaming. And I think your dad actually said, don't ever do that again. That's not what you do. But I think
It was
it can be where there has to be an understanding. There has to be good communication because you have one spouse that is out there working for the family, supporting the family. And then the other spouse is holding down the home front, raising the family, doing all the things so that the spouse that's leaving can go leave and not worry about the home front, which is priceless.
Totally.
But that spouse that's gone is living a little bit more of a, a fun
Yeah, no,
existence,
there's no question. Think
and
about
so
that.
there has to be that. I'm sure in your marriage, you had to find that balance. It's not like you came home, we're like, guess what I did?
I
You
think
know,
it created some issues. You're
you
100%
know,
right. And
yeah,
that's why it ended up being great when my wife was able to come.
yes,
And, quite honestly, at least from my perspective, her job is so much more important than mine. I mean, raising those kids just the same way you did, right?
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
And I don't want to speak for you, but from my perspective, hugely outweighs what I did. I understand making the money and all that stuff and all
yeah.
the things behind it, but I like what I saw was happening with my children. So
Well, it goes together. It's a partnership, right?
absolutely,
And the communication, I think, is 100% key. But I always
absolutely.
say, he laughs, but I always do say that, I was able to, it was a privilege for me to stay home because Brian was able to provide that. But it was a privilege for him to be able to just go and build his career without one single worry about the house or the kids or anything. He didn't even have to give it a second thought. So we both were privileged from our partnership. And not that it was easy. We're going on 31 years this September. There's been ups and downs, marriages, ups and downs, and there's bad days, bad weeks, bad months, whatever. But I think that communication, but especially in your situation where there's somebody traveling, I think it can create extra challenges in marriage, and marriage in general can be hard. So that communication is so important,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
by the way, you're right. It did. It
Yeah.
did. It
Yeah. So,
absolutely did. I mean, we
yeah.
managed through it, and we'll be married 37 years in
Wow.
or 38 in September.
You better figure out which one.
Yeah, that's true. Well, 1987. So what does that mean? That's
Oh,
38.
Don't
I'm not
look at me,
math. I'm
man.
not math.
It's gonna be 38.
That's amazing.
When in September?
The 26th.
Oh, we're the 17th.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do have a question. I
Yeah.
think it's a perfect segue. I want to get into how you met your wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all
That
of
was going to be my
But,
next question.
two comments, one comment, one question. That bar in Madrid was amazing. It's like a 200 or 300-year-old
I knew you were going to
Irish
come
pub.
back to that.
Amazing. It's like, I think it was 3 or 4 stories high. It was amazing.
Spain's a beautiful country
Oh, it's
too. Oh my
my
God,
favorite
Europe
city.
Europe
Yeah.
is a gift.
That
Yeah.
was his favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The question I have, it's interesting. I was talking to someone who's about your age, actually, a guy I work with the other day, just talking about sort of that enlightenment that we go through. I feel like, this podcast has probably helped me learn some things, just talking like this, meeting incredible people and talking about, like your life story and all this. Do you have a point where you remember where maybe a light bulb went off and you had some sense of like maybe an epiphany or the realization of just understood things a little bit better? Things started to fall into place. Was that your early 50s? And if that doesn't make sense, I could try to clarify. But
Do you mean personally?
yeah, personally, where it just wisdom is the word I'm looking for, where you kind of felt like, okay, I kind of got this. I understand what I should do. I understand that I didn't do that. Does that make sense?
It
And
does.
do you recall a moment in life where that clicked for you?
I understand the question. I can't say a moment in life, but to put color around that, certain things are important. I knew that they were going along the right path, like the raising of the kids. Even like you said, calling from Madrid. I mean, I must have probably done that, and again, it's so funny because you tend to forget. But I can remember my wife going, man, and we didn't have help. Like her parents, when we moved down here, were here, and they're just the greatest for the kids. Sharcy was with the kids alone. So I can't say any one, but I mean, it just seemed like over time there was just these. I started feeling that, not making as many mistakes.
Grew up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
mistakes can be painful.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And who wants that? You
Yeah.
know? And I feel I got a lot of breaks. And then you start going, man, you don't want to be on the other side of,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder sometimes, is there a moment for men when they're in a marriage when they really kind of look around and think, I am so lucky. Like,
Yeah.
I am so lucky that I have this marriage and these children, but that you start to see people that are divorcing or things are falling apart and you take stock in what you have. Is that kind of what you're talking about a
Yeah,
little
I
bit?
feel like I'm in that, and I've been in it for a little while, and I'm just curious because I'm not saying it's a new thing. I've always been a pretty conscious person, but I've also had the ability to be a jerk and just let it, call from a pub in Madrid at 3 a.m. and say how wonderful, right? So
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that again.
I know.
Not from that, but just, I don't know. You grow up, you get a little more conscious, a little more awareness type of thing.
Yeah.
I'll add this, Brian. Since having grandkids,
Mm.
and now you're looking at this from a different perspective, and it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it. You had the 3 kids,
Cannot
and if you're,
wait.
it's, I've never seen my wife. I mean, we of course happy. We enjoyed the kids so much, and now more than ever. I was the officiant of my son's marriage.
Yeah.
That's
And,
amazing.
yeah, and my daughter's getting married in January.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Congrats.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank
Awesome.
you.
yay.
And he's marrying his name Eric Katz. He's a great guy. He's a Jewish guy, and his father Ron Katz and I are going to be the officiants at my daughter and his
awesome.
son's wedding.
Wow.
So I feel so connected in that way.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
that's awesome.
No, that's a whole nother phase.
It's a whole nother phase. So now that my kids have got older, and you start understanding that, you did a lot of the right things.
Yeah.
And now I've got these grandkids, and I'm like, I got this.
Yeah.
And my kids, because you had made a point in one of your podcasts I was listening to, and you were talking about not putting yourself front and center with your kids, and
Yeah.
you were talking, and I go,
Yeah.
my wife and I played that, not played it so well, but the beautiful baby, now 2 of them. But hey, how can we help? Let us
Yeah.
know, because we're only 10 minutes away, if that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And naturally it involved in this thing where, oh my God, we love our son, but our daughter-in-law is amazing, and
Yeah.
we help each other. We try not to overstep,
Yeah.
and if so, just communicate. But honestly, it hasn't been that way. It just kind of has worked. So it's a mutual respect, but at the same time, I wouldn't have ever taken the approach and just jumped and forced ourselves on it.
Right.
No,
Right.
that's
But you'd be amazed at how many people do.
Yeah.
And then there's
And
a
then
lot of
suffer the
strife. They suffer the
consequence. I don't want that.
consequences.
I don't
Well,
want that.
no. So actually, what advice would you give to people whose adult children, have not gotten married yet? What advice would you give to parents on how to be a good in-law to their future spouse?
Take it slow, right? Because you don't know that person well. You may think you do, you may have a couple experiences, but take it slow, because you really want to learn about that person over time. Some trips with them, some maybe one-on-ones, or some whatever it may be, naturally that evolves. Learn more about them, and then slowly but surely, how can you be helpful? How can you be kind? How can you make it a better day so that the relationships just blossoms in a good way? Doesn't mean there won't be bumps, because there absolutely will be. We're humans that aren't perfect, but yeah, take it slow, learn a good bit. Don't put the cart before the horse. Even if you like these, I can't think, God, you want certain things to happen, but you can't make them happen.
Mhm.
So be a great participant to help it unfold in the best for everybody involved.
That's great advice.
Right. Yeah, no, that's wonderful advice. And respect their boundaries too, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And how important would you say it is to make them feel welcome into the family from day one?
Key, especially, there's people have issues that they've grown up with. We've all had certain things, some better than others, some worse than others, but you don't want to, some people don't have great parents. And then all of a sudden they're in this house and it's Brady Bunchish. You guys know what the Brady Bunch is?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
you're
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
But you know where it seemed like everything was pretty
No,
cool.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
We grew up watching the Brady
Yeah,
Bunch.
yeah,
that's
yeah.
our era.
10-year thing's
Yeah.
throwing me for a
Yeah.
loop.
But for
Yeah.
us, it was reruns.
Okay. well,
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
it really?
All right.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
that shit was live.
Maybe we were really little, like, but no, I think it stopped.
Okay. But
Right?
I
so
thought
you
when they
still had
were
the-
in Hawaii doing that like ski jump competition, I
Okay,
thought
so
that was
maybe
live like on a
so
Sunday
maybe
night.
maybe it was the early seasons
I
that were
feel cheated.
reruns, but no, I think you're right. I think like we were there for maybe like our age could remember live, but then the early ones were black and white.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so funny. You remember
So,
that.
Yeah.
But I mean, how idyllic, just the music was
Yes.
great.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they got, so, but a lot of, and I see this because again, some of the things that I do outside of my direct family, you see these people aren't having the luxury of two good parents doing the right thing
Yeah,
and
yeah.
being there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was telling you about that Eucharistic ministry thing, and it's such a awesome thing to do it. And I do it for the sick and dying. And it's so interesting to hear what they tell you as you're getting older and getting ready to move on. And what's going to blow your mind, well, won't blow your mind, but one of the main things you'll hear is, I wish I spent more time with family. And they'll go, I was just trying to work really hard, but my daughter holds it against me because I wasn't there. So there's regret on not being there. And again, some of it's selfish and you make your own bed, but some of it, I just thought I was working so hard. So important. And the other one, just blows me away. They'll go, I didn't speak to my brother for like 40 years. And the guy, he's on his deathbed and he's just like, why did I let that happen?
Mm-hmm.
So it gets back to those family ties and it gets back to getting over those hurdles and just, making that work out, because when you can't change and it's getting to that point, man,
Yeah.
it's all no similar regrets. It's like, I wish I made more money. I don't think that matters
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
It's the
It's about
family.
what your kids are going to say about you.
Yeah.
And anyway, not to keep going, but it's so interesting to hear go, I wish I would have. Well, then do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And it's not the first time I've heard that, but you're directly involved here. And so hearing that is, it's kind of powerful, because you hear that, you can read it, you can go on yahoo.com or whatever and read that, but to hear it and you see it firsthand, that's probably way more powerful, I guess.
I've been able to use it. My friend's got a great friend that I love that invites me golfing, where it's so cool, and may not be as close to his brother. There's some whatever.
Yeah.
He was talking to me about a certain things, and I said, have you really thought about that? So I learned from that gentleman that said that to me about, why didn't I speak to my brother for 40 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that may be a little bit of a dramatic example, but the point being, if you can control it and you can be there, you're going to feel
Yeah.
good about how things
Yeah.
unfold as you age.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the investment, I think one of what you were referring to the video maybe was also talking about the investment you put into your children, their childhood, and being there and present. You get the reward when they're adult children and they give you access to their life. Because it's amazing
And
how
that's the
many
greatest access to their life.
it's
is
the
so fun.
reward. It's the reward, right? Like our even our 15-year-olds still will hang out with us, but our adult children want to hang out with us, and every time we're like, my daughter asked me if I'd go to
blessing.
yoga tomorrow morning. I'm like, yes, of course.
My favorite thing.
So it's our favorite thing.
Absolutely.
So you guys were,
Yeah.
you're very similar to and it's so important. You got to work, and it doesn't mean everything's perfect.
Yeah.
But when you think about that, and it kind of gets back to, so important whether it's a man or woman, that stay-at-home person, I think, is more important than, especially as times unfold and there's so much pressure to earn. But man, I'm glad my wife stayed home, and
Let's
thank God
go
my
there.
mom
Let's
did.
go. How did you meet your wife?
Yes,
Where did
let's
you meet
start
her?
there. Yes.
You guys have
How
been
did
married 37 years. I
Yeah.
know I've
Yep.
said hi to her before,
Yep.
but let's hear
Okay,
it.
when did you meet her?
Okay, so I guess like 85, 86.
So right out of college.
Right. Her sister ran the soccer team for James Madison. So we'd share fields, and
Oh.
she was just this beautiful, cool girl.
Did she go there? To
Yeah.
James? Oh, so
Oh
you
yeah,
guys
she
met
was
at
she
school.
was played soccer for James Madison.
Your
Oh,
wife.
okay.
My wife's sister.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay,
That's what I
So
was
we
clarifying.
were
Okay.
just great buddies, and our groups hung out together, and love her still to this day. They live near us. You know what I mean? And we graduated. I don't know. I went up to New York with my buddies doing our thing, and she's like, "Hey, come down. We're having a party At where she lived at the time,
Where was that?
like I think it was Fairfax, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah, they're Virginia girls. And again, I'm at the party, got a bunch of friends, life is good. This beauty walks in.
The house starts shaking.
It's like my dad said, you guys, the energy changed, at least for me. And having him, excuse me, have said that, I knew something was different at that point.
Yeah.
And then how it unfolded so very quickly, we knew she was flying up to New York shortly thereafter.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was instantaneous. And by the way, you guys, I'm sure for her, as it was for me, I was bopping around Soho, Greenwich Village, going into the city, Knick games, taking clients out to dinner on Cisco. I wasn't looking for love to get married.
Yeah.
You really wasn't.
Weren't ready to settle
I
down.
wasn't ready to settle down. That could be a little bit of cause some of the immaturities or back to what caused some of
Well, how old were you when you got married?
So 87. So I was 26. She was 25.
Yeah, you guys were young. We were
Yeah.
Pretty young.
23.
And
Yeah.
that's even, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's
you're
crazy.
right. It's young. My first kid was born when I was 30. So I felt good about that
Mhm.
because we were able to do a bunch, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't. And by the way, not mature enough too, because
Mhm.
commitment made a lot of sense, but there were other priorities. And what they said when they were reading vows didn't make sense until you really go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's true. We always say we feel like we grew up together because we got married so young. Your 20s, you grow so much in your 20s. You change, your frontal lobe doesn't even close to your 26, I think.
that's
So,
true.
we got married before our frontal lobes closed.
Well, we
But
were married, had a kid
we had Nathan at 26
at a young age.
and then had Kaya at 29 and then popped up with Dylan at 38.
Yeah, and I know
Yeah.
I can still remember that.
That's our bonus
But you loved being a mom from the get go.
from the get-go.
Oh, so you were built for that.
I wanted that. In fact, we had a discussion before we got married, and I made it very clear that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom because my childhood was total chaos. My parents divorced and married other people, divorced and married again. And I had step siblings and half siblings and moving. It was just chaos. And so I wanted stability. And I wanted to give my children the childhood I wanted. I wanted to make cookies and have them there when they got home from school. I wanted the traditional 1950s, quote unquote.
Norman
No,
Rockefeller.
yeah, I wanted it. I
Beautiful.
wanted it. And he wanted that because he grew up like that. His mom was home till he went to junior high. So he had, his parents were still married. He had a very traditional upbringing. So we were like-minded. And when we got married, we were 23. We didn't have any money. Like we lived in a house that was probably literally the size of
Not
this
much
room.
bigger
Not
than
much
this
bigger
room.
than this room. When we
Yeah.
brought Nathan
Including
home.
the kitchen.
Yeah. And we're not exaggerating. We brought
That's
Nathan
wild.
home, his
Yeah.
crib was like here. Like in the, there was a room, his crib was there. So I stayed home even then. Like we went without for me to stay home because that's how important it was to both of us. I just couldn't put him in daycare, none of that. So, and then we built the career together.
And we had a pretty mean independent streak too. I think we were living in Oregon at the time.
Yeah.
We could have probably chosen some easier routes, but we were pretty independent.
We could have lived in Michigan or Jersey near family and probably had more help, but we were doing it on our own.
You know what though? You were madly in love.
Yes.
You had a child together.
Yeah.
Had to be one of the best times in your life, right?
It was great. Like especially Nathan being born was I don't even know. It was magical.
It's weird. We were kids
Right?
raising
Yeah.
kids, and it
Yeah.
was like, I don't know. I feel like my whole life is blessed since we've had a family. So to go back and pick that as the best time, I don't know. Today was
When
pretty
you say
special.
best,
I took
but
my
I mean, what an amazing when you think about it, because you obviously weren't earning.
no.
No,
You know,
he was
you lived
building
in.
his-
But
yeah.
my point is, how
Yeah.
cool! I can just remember that just
Yeah.
being with similar, a little bit different, but very similar.
Well, I think part of marriage is building the life together. So many younger generations, I think, and I think a lot of it has to do with social media and comparing your life to others so easily. But I think they need to have the big house and the cars and all the things before
Sure.
they get married. And it's like, no, some of this is you build it together. There is something about starting out small and doing it. That's the marriage. That's the foundation.
Totally.
And that creates that strength and those ups and downs and that adversity and all that. So it's great. I mean, it's wonderful once you get all those things. It's lovely. That's great, and that's the goal. But doing it together, I think you go through things that keep you together. Instead of just having it all there, and then I don't know.
Having it all there can sometimes really create problems. Having a lot of money, not that, but I mean, you live in an affluent area. I live in an affluent area. And a lot of the kids that have problems, they haven't been told to do chores, or haven't had, you know what I mean? There's issues.
And you have to have that work ethic, and you have to have an appreciation for money and the cost of things. It doesn't just and earn it, because then you enjoy it. But if you're just given things, then you really never understand how to be happy about something. You know what I mean?
I do, and that's great, because that kind of levels things out. If you think about it, you don't want to always struggle, but at the same time, you just want it to work. But you do want that appreciation.
Yes.
You want your kids to be good. You want to be good. Again, we're
down to earth.
Absolutely.
And real.
When so you guys got together.
Well, you were going to the party. He went to the party. He met her, and then she came up.
Yeah.
She came up.
Did she move up?
Shortly thereafter.
And then, did you guys live together?
Yeah.
And then from how long was it from the time you met to you got married?
Less than 2 years. Not even. It happened quick.
And her family was from?
Northern Virginia.
Okay.
But what's wild, and this is why it worked out, again, so fortunate when you think about it. So that now we had 2 kids, little ones, in New York. I'm living out on the North Shore of Long Island. Some great friends, and still to this day, wonderful. But I'm going into New York City. Going back, and New York, as lovely it is not having
That's
been
a grind, man.
It's a grind.
Yeah.
So her stepdad, really, just phenomenal man. Anyway, was very intelligent. I had a company that built intelligence in cockpits during the Reagan era. So he software did different things so that these cockpits had intelligence. Sold the company, did very well, and moved to, of all things, Cape Coral to start. Got into real estate, eventually moved his way down into Fort Myers, and then ended up in Naples. So here we are after X amount of years in New York, and we're ready. And he's like, come on down. And Cisco was like, I don't care where you live. It was meant to be.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I went from that wonderful experience, but burning out, as you said. I was, you know what I mean? The rat race was.
And you were in there during the Giuliani years, right?
I was.
So that's when New York was wonderful.
Yeah, because it started with the Rainbow Coalition with David Dinkins. That administration was not a good one, in my opinion, no disrespect. But Giuliani came in and cleaned things up, and it was nice. And I'll tell you, there's,
it was great.
I still go back and forth. And
we would go in, we'd bring the kids. I would go with the kids by myself.
Of course.
I take them to Toys R Us, and that whole Times Square was different. There was things you could do with kids then and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't say it's changed for the better as of late. So that's a shame.
It is. It breaks my heart.
It'll be a circle though, because when I was a kid, we'd go into the city and it was dangerous. There were hookers on the street. Guys selling drugs, the squeegee guys. It was fun being in high school doing that, but then I went to college, came back, and Giuliani had taken over, and it was like Disney. So we're back to that squeegee mode right now. I'm hoping I don't know. It's a little crazy there right now. I'm hoping it'll sort itself out.
Well, it doesn't certainly sound like what's going on in the potential mayor. Anyway, you just want safety, right? You want to be able to, take your kids into the city and experience.
That's great.
And not that you kill Stamp, but you got to admit, you better be smart about it, right?
Were you there then for 9/11, or had you moved south yet?
Moved a year before.
Okay, cool.
Terrible.
Yeah, no. It's horrible.
But anyway, we were so glad to move, and we still go back once a year, twice a year, depending upon. We got some good friends, but living in Naples the last 25 years has been nothing but beautiful. It's gotten too busy since the pandemic.
Everywhere in Florida.
Right. So
everywhere in
there's
Florida.
that. So, but again.
Before you guys got married, like how I said, Brian and I had that talk about how we envisioned raising children, and then I'd be home and he'd work. Did you and your wife have just a discussion about roles, or how you saw each of you playing out your role in the marriage?
No.
And would you say that that was needed, or you should have, or did it just happen naturally for you guys?
Happened naturally, but I
Okay.
think if that discussion was had, it would probably been a little bit better. And the only reason I say that is she worked for Citicorp at the time,
Hmm.
Citibank, and she did well. She did well, and she wanted kids, but everything
That's
changes the
hard.
moment you have a kid. And then, like I said,
Yes.
I wasn't, a couple miles down the street, right? So, for at work. So I think that was a difficult change, but she just loved being a mom. So that all worked out. But it, that discussion probably would have been more prudent. We just fell in love and said, let's go.
Would you say that that's pretty common in your generation, that just to go for it and not have the communicating beforehand about those things wasn't discussed as much, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're probably right. I don't know as much about others, but I do think it's probably that's real. Because if
Yeah.
not, people would talk about it more now. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It makes so. When did you become a communicator? Because you probably weren't in the beginning, right? When did you
In his marriage?
in his marriage? Yeah, yeah, probably.
She was a better listener. I talked too much. So I always thought I was a good communicator, Brian.
Yeah,
But I think we had that. We always loved each other immensely, and we always thought that you could always work through things. But again, I think we could have been, me in particular, more intelligent about some of the choices that I made. I was loving life.
Yeah.
Just doing things and putting it out there. And at some point, especially when you have a family, you can't come in late from the city.
Well,
Catch
did
it.
you? I think you've alluded to that. Did you go through that phase where you, your wife's home with the kids, you're in the city doing a nice sales job,
Yeah.
taking people out, entertaining clients in the best city in the world,
Yep. At
and
the time, for
yeah,
sure.
right? You're going to Knicks games. Probably there were probably some hot clubs like Studio 54. I don't know.
Limelight.
Was it? So what's the deal there? Like, what was that phase like for you? What were you guys? What were you up
It
to?
was wonderful, and a lot of times she participated, but it was the 80s, 90s, and a lot of bad stuff happened with
Yeah.
drugs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
So
Coke years.
Yeah, the Coke
Yeah.
years. And, I got caught up in it a little bit, and it was tough because, I
Mm.
have an addictive personality.
Mm.
So that is something I look back on it, not proud of, but, I-
It
it's
is what
just,
it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But got through it. Thankfully, things went good. But point is, you guys, there'd be Friday afternoons. You're on Wall Street. Street closes. They'd rent out the bar restaurants, and you'd go down there. And I'm that relationship guy. They liked me there. They'd have a room in the restaurant's a party room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember that kind of? I mean,
Well, the seaport area, right? That Wall Street's the seaport kind of area. They parties there. I used to go in there as a kid. I brought her there. I brought
Yeah.
the kids there. We'd
Yeah.
go down the
No, the
seaport.
seaport's
but
so cool.
so
All
cool.
those restaurants, all those bars. It's a fun
Yeah.
place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wish that it was a little different times because you get caught, especially, or even if you're drinking too much and you got to go back 2 hours,
Yeah.
you're not in the healthiest of environments. And I'm not
Yeah.
boo-hooing about it, but I mean, those choices, if you look back,
Yeah.
I would now go a lot better. And I think that I shared that with my children and they made better choices.
Hmm.
Back to you talk about my father's generation and mother's great parents, they never told me a thing about it.
Yeah.
And I would have been the guy that would have been good to tell about it.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? About, hey, getting
Yeah.
a girl pregnant or the I never had those discussions, you
Yeah.
guys.
I think that's their generation. There was no,
It was.
and even in your generation, like you guys, I think you talking to your kids about this, that's probably kind of unusual for your generation, because I don't think
For
your
sure.
generation really talked. Gen X is really the first generation where we're talking about it all, because no one talked to us about anything. Like our parents, his parents didn't talk. Well, you had silent generation and boomer. Maybe they both were silent generation. I had boomer. In our situation, our parents talked to us about money, about getting a girl pregnant, about anything, menopause, anything that's coming up. So we went in blind. So now we're all making it a point. Let's talk. So with our kids, we're going to talk about it all, even if it's uncomfortable, or even if just so that we're a resource for you. So I think, but
Resource,
you
good
doing
word.
that with your kids, I think that was, you were progressive for your generation. I think that you did that, because I don't think a lot did.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that because I think a lot of it stemmed out of I don't want them, because I feel so lucky that some things that could have
Yeah.
gone bad didn't. And sometimes bad things happen to very good people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't, if you can limit that potential possibility. I mean, think about now with the drugs like the fentanyl they're talking.
Yeah.
Can you imagine these wonderful young kids
It's
make
terrible.
one mistake?
Terrible.
it happened
So,
to one of our son's friends, and it was one
Oh,
mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
even imagine. And
Yeah.
I would, it's beyond me to think that, because I can't even tell you how many mistakes have
Yeah.
been made by
Yeah.
me, my
You
friends.
think you're just smoking a joint, but it's laced with fentanyl. And now all of a sudden you're foaming at the mouth, dying. That's fucked up. That's
These
crazy.
are tougher times. So,
Yeah.
Oh, I've talked to Dylan about you
Yeah.
can't take anything from anyone because it could have, I say anything, candy, anything.
You can't. You're right.
You can't.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the conversations we've had with him about that I never even had with Nathan and Kaya that I'm having to have with him. It's crazy.
It's mind blowing.
It is.
Honestly, the topics you have to cover nowadays, and maybe it's always been that way. And we, to your point, we're a generation that talks about it, but it's crazy. Our parents
is
didn't
crazy.
talk to us, and now we're
No,
the
But-
depths we go to. It's
to cover everything.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not
But
safe, you guys. That's the
no,
thing.
it's
Yeah.
That's
not.
the problem. And it doesn't mean that it's not here or where I'm in, but I'm saying anybody could make that mistake.
Yeah.
100%.
And now you're paying with your life, and it's
Yeah.
just not right. So we have to
Yeah.
address this as a society and fix it, because that's not fair to them, even if they made a mistake. Because haven't
Yeah.
we all made?
We've
some-
all made
we've all made
you
mistakes.
should have
so-
the
Yeah.
space to make mistakes
should
too, and
have a
not
s-
have it be
Well,
life.
generally that's
or
the
death.
way life
Yeah.
seemed to
Used
have
to be.
been, and
Yeah.
a safe space to make those mistakes, I guess.
I have
is
a
what you're
question.
saying.
So I have to do this sometimes. I have a question because she's ready to roll. In talking to your kids, was that driven by you and your wife, say, together, or more her? Because ours was definitely driven more by Nicole, right? She's the better parent. How would that? What about your dynamics? I guess.
mutual.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And again, so cool that it happened this way. But my son and I have been like this from the get-go.
Mhm.
It's just been that way. We still are.
Yep.
My wife and my daughter, best friends.
Yep.
They just had their bachelorette party
Mm,
for my daughter out in Colorado, outside of Denver, last weekend or weekend ago. And 12 wonderful girls flew in for my daughter, and they invited my wife.
that's wonderful.
That's
So
cool.
when you have
Yeah.
those kind of,
That's the reward.
I stayed at my son's house and helped with the two kids, and it was the greatest few days to see
Yep.
this. So I take that but I
Yeah.
think that comes from the hard work that
Yeah.
you all did. And again, just like you said about Nicole, I agree. She's a better parent. She's definitely smarter.
Yeah.
But, I think I might be more fun, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mix. But
Yeah.
that I credit her so much with that, because boy, these kids turned out well. But I did my part. There's no question.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she was in it day one, and they talked to her.
Yeah.
They talked to her, and they allowed that. They didn't invite us to school. They invite I'm telling you,
Yeah.
my son, I was responsible for him staying an extra year at University of Central Florida. I loved everything about his college. My wife and I'd go up. They'd invite us. We never put ourselves front and center, whatever. They invite, but you're in Orlando.
Yeah.
What a boy. I loved it. I bummed out when he graduated.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
I can relate. I'd go up to my son's frat
Yeah.
parties for dad's weekend
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff.
So
And
you
He had a
know.
reputation in the frat.
Yeah.
Is that the greatest? So
It
if you
was.
can get that, you did something right. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean
Oh yeah.
But-
but that's not again. It's earned. It's earned
Nicole,
from the time.
100%.
Yeah, and you guys had a partnership. You worked together
Yep.
all those years, raising your children.
Yep.
As far as becoming a parent, I always say that that's an emotion that you don't have until that baby's born, and then it's a love you didn't know it existed, and then it
Never.
changes you forever, and it changes the whole trajectory of everything,
100%.
and it's the greatest thing ever,
And the hardest.
and the hardest, because it takes so much effort and time to do it right. I think, but it's so rewarding.
You know what? Absolutely. If you don't, you never know.
Yeah.
I got good news for you, Nicole. Great news for you. It's better being a grandparent.
Everyone says that.
It's true.
I can't imagine.
It's true. And it doesn't mean even my kids who we adore and they adore
Yeah.
us. You're gonna
I can't wait.
You can't believe that it's the next generation of you.
Yeah.
You see it of them, they see it in you and they're just like, so Dad, this is the way you were with me? And it's just, and then you're just like, you'll have the time and energy. You know, you might be a little older when your youngest has the kids, you too.
Yeah.
But you are gonna, from my perspective, and I'm glad to hear that you say other people say it. Maybe it's because you're not as stressed. You're better off financially.
Yeah.
You have some choices. We happen to live near one another, which is obviously the best. You're probably going to want that. If, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I've never, ever, ever experienced anything like this.
You know,
I cannot wait.
So our oldest and his girlfriend got a fish together, a beta fish. She wants them to go out of town so we can babysit the fish.
That's how much I can't wait. We have a storage unit, and half of it is filled with toys of my kids that are for our grandchildren. We pay monthly on it.
But you know what, though? You know what? You probably, you know, and I love to hear it. Because, by the way, I listened to podcast 1 where you talked about the upbringings and what you went through as opposed to what you went through. Because I would truthfully say, and thank God, because you know, you never know, right? Doesn't mean your parents weren't good, whatever, but 2 stable parents, 2 good people was so wonderful. So for you to make the choices, kudos, because you could also be tainted where people feel they got shortchanged or whatever the case may be. And, you know, you still own your own destiny, but it's a little bit harder. Maybe a lot a bit harder. But I mean, what's better? And
there's nothing
better, and I know it. I see it on your face. So
there's nothing
so
better.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
So well, he'll tell you. You know, he'll tell you as soon as we get news.
Well, and not only that, he will be it too.
Oh,
he will be it too.
I can't wait.
Oh, he's gonna be. Yeah. No, I and you know what? You guys both, you complimented me. You complimented your wife, and I do think that everything you said about the mother and the home, I agree. But I do 100% feel that having a father in a child's life is the game changer. For a son and a daughter, for a son and a daughter, it's a game changer. Whether you're still married to the father or not, the father being involved with the children is a game changer. I think
the mother's a given, has to be, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it really does.
Although there are some women that aren't
understood,
into, you know,
that's the base.
Yeah, but that father, especially I think with girls, especially with self-esteem, with believing in themselves, with knowing how to pick a partner, having that father in their lives is such an aid. They're not trying to fill that void of not having a father.
I would make an argument, and I'm not saying I would win this argument, but I would put up the argument that the father's more important. But I would expect the mother to counter that with why the mom's more important. And then you agree to disagree that we're both important. But dads are super critical. I think it's an awesome responsibility we have to honor and put work into and evolve and all of that. It's critical, I think.
Yeah.
I can't disagree, be critical, but I don't, I would say that it's going to sound a little odd, but I mean, mother having a baby and developing inside of them just is amazing to me.
Yeah.
And not that you can't have the same connection, because I think we do, but I also think it's different.
100%.
And I think the mother is and it's both. So we're talking.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't. But point is, I do. And you think about it, a lot of the issues we have, you got some strong mothers that, thank God, hold together things. And then when you don't have a father, I think statistically, you're 100% on point. But you both, it's just make it work. You guys, you're going to have this beautiful child. Let's just make it work.
Yeah, that's the key. So your son went to UCF.
Yeah.
Where'd your daughter go?
Florida Gulf Coast.
Okay, so they were both in Florida, and now they both live in Florida.
Close.
So that's wonderful.
Blessing.
So you just keep hitting the jackpot.
You know what I mean? I'm pinching myself.
Yeah.
Because it's,
What more could you want?
Maybe more grandchildren.
Because now you're at 2, right?
I'm at 2.
So a boy. Or
a boy, 2.5-year-old, cutest thing you've ever seen, in this 4-month-old.
And then it's a 4-month-old, a boy or a girl?
Girl.
Oh.
Gemma. With a G. And it's so funny. You know how babies, right? Is that your great, and I like the baby stage a lot. Never had a problem with mine, and obviously them, diapers, crying, doesn't matter. But we walk around, and all I see my wife do, she's holding this little chunk of monk and just kissing the head.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, that's what you used to do with Alexandra.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen her happier.
Yeah.
Again, I take.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is your daughter and daughter-in-law, are they stay at home?
My daughter is not. She's a counselor at Florida Gulf Coast. But
Oh,
my
nice.
daughter-in-law, and she doesn't have a child yet. My daughter, she's getting married in
Okay.
January.
Okay.
So
Okay.
really
so
good
she's
young
getting
man,
married
so
in January.
good.
Okay.
But yeah, my daughter-in-law stopped working right before the child. This woman was made to mother.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know anything about, because they're, are they millennial or Gen Z? When were they born?
93, and I think she was maybe 95 or 94.
Okay. So they're millennials. Yeah. Because he's the oldest Gen Z and he's 97.
You're
so
the expert in
they're
this
millennials.
space.
Okay. So they're millennial parents. So, or not parents, your son is a millennial parent and with your daughter-in-law. Have you observed, do you think their communication is way more involved about roles, parenting, raising a family than like even your generation or our generation? Have you observed any of that or gotten that vibe?
Interesting, because they're really good, but they don't put it out there as much as I put it out there. They're very different. They're more, my son was much more to himself growing up about relationships and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I made him uncomfortable, even though he was fine with it and ends up being good, talking about some of the things that we talked about. I think they must obviously do that well. I don't see them doing that outwardly when we're around,
Right.
but I see two parents that are joyous. I noticed that this past week where it was just me and my kid, and sure, it's a lot of work, but it's joyful with them,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And it had a lot of work.
Yeah.
Sunday come, I was done,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
That 2.5-year-old,
Yeah.
oh, it's the cutest, but a lot of work.
They have
but
some juice.
they have some juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to answer your point, they seem more, they're not as outwardly about it. I think my daughter with my wife is very good about going deep, but my son's not.
Mm.
His actions speak volumes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you know,
They're more private about,
they're more
Yeah.
private about it.
but they're working as partners. It's obvious that they're working in harmony.
Yeah, and I feel that they're supporting one another very
Yeah.
well. And you know what? For what it's worth, I think he feels the same way, making sure that his wonderful wife has everything she needs to be a great mom, because that's what's most important to him.
That's wonderful. Have you
Yeah.
seen, does he do more domestic stuff than like our generation or your generation as the guy? Because I feel like millennial men will do more like do dishes, vacuum, do diapers. Like they'll help out more around the house, that generation, than Gen X men and boomer men did. Have you observed any of that?
We're the difference. Like I'm big into that. Always have
Oh,
been.
really?
Yeah, it's
You've
odd.
always helped in
Oh,
that?
well, yeah, 5 kids, 7 years.
Oh, true.
We're doing dishes.
Yeah,
We had
yeah.
a regiment. And I think it's very important. There's a lot of talk about successful people. They've all done chores.
Mm.
And that way, forget
Yeah.
about the money you make, whatever. They've done chores.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to have some responsibility,
Mhm.
feeling you're part of a team,
Yes.
Yeah.
that kind
That's
of
what we've always told our kids is you're part of the helping the household run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so important. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of statistics are coming out after they look over all these years.
It's interesting.
But she's real good. I mean, it's bedlam right now
Mhm.
in a good way.
Of course,
They've got
yeah.
this beautiful 80-pound Anatolian Shepherd who used to be the king of the castle because everybody, and they got the 2.5-year-old who's cute as can be, but oh boy.
Yeah.
And then this little 4-month-old. So they're a beautiful home, nice home. But you know what? One more kid, we got to get a new house. It's not big enough. I think she's real good about keeping that up.
Oh, yeah.
He is a partner. My wife's brother never got married. Great guy. Has a kitchen, bath, and cabinet company.
Mm.
And they're doing a good job. And he's a partner in that firm. So it's nice being an entrepreneur. He's done it now 8, 9, 10 years. My brother-in-law is in his later 50s. It's, it's going to be Austin's business or
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah, it's with another partner, this gentleman that there's a third. wonderful. But Austin, so he gets up and out early and works, but comes home at 4 o'clock and he's
Oh,
on
nice.
duty from then.
That's
And then,
wonderful.
the weekends, they seem to make it work. They
Yeah.
really do.
That's
But I
great.
think to answer your question, I don't think he's doing a lot of things around there. He's, when I was there with him, he was pretty good. But I think based on the list that was on the refrigerator, he
Yeah, yeah.
had the instructions on how to do it right, and he properly followed them.
Yeah, that's funny.
Now you had mentioned we've talked about your parents, but we haven't discussed, were they around for your children when they were born? Like, were they grandparents for your children?
They were. They happened to live in Naples until they got older, and one had Alzheimer's, one had a multitude of maladies that ended up being dementia. And we moved them up to Virginia, where there was 2 sisters that were great with them and a brother that lived kind of close, as opposed to just me down here. But they were able to experience it. But it's different because seeing my wife's family, they were all about it.
Mm.
The big Italian, Bernie
Mhm.
Pinella, he did well. He was a smart man, had beautiful homes. Life was good. They're calling you, hey, you want to take Charcy out? We'll take the kids.
Yeah.
My parents were burned out.
Yeah.
Mm.
Loved the kids, no problem, did it, but they were burned out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were they more like they would visit and then,
Yeah,
they were
Yeah,
like that?
they were like that.
Yeah.
And it was cool because they actually lived in this really nice community for several years on the same street. And my father and mother and my wife's stepfather and mother
Yep.
were great friends.
Oh,
That's
that's
cool.
awesome.
It was, again,
Yeah.
very
That's
nice. but
wonderful.
It was. And my dad had so much respect for her stepfather. He was a really smart man.
Mhm.
And he would be that guy that you'd want to sit down with him and, hey, Dad, I'm going to buy a car. Hey, Dad, how do I finance this? Or I'm putting, this guy, he was the rock. But anyway, my dad loved it. And, he sold to the military.
Yep.
And then my dad was military. It was a wild thing. And that was enjoyable because we'd have these parties and everybody came together.
That's
But
lovely.
actually, the hands-on stuff, like we're getting the kids as much as possible, and I'm taking them to the golf course, and Charcy's wheeling her around. We're having fun with it. My parents are like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
not bad. They just
Yeah.
wouldn't.
No, I think there's
Yeah.
two approaches.
2 approaches.
And it's interesting when you see what your parents, you don't know how your parents are going to react,
Yeah.
right? Until you have children, and then you're like, oh, okay, you're like that, and then, so now, did her family also live in Naples?
Yeah. Matter of fact, sister that I went to college with lives in Naples. The
And her
brother-
parents too?
Yep.
That's so
What-
wonderful.
Bernie-
Remember, they got them down here.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but the parents, though, her parents too also live down here?
They moved first.
Yeah, they were.
Oh, the
yeah,
parents moved.
her
parents
okay,
moved, yeah.
okay,
Correct.
okay.
Correct.
Okay, so I thought it was just the sister. So the parents moved
They
here.
moved first.
Okay.
Then the brother came down.
Oh, the
Okay.
brother too.
Yeah, and
Oh,
then the
wow.
sister came. Then that's
Okay.
just 30 years and 20 some years ago,
Yeah.
because I was the last, and that was 25, which seems like yesterday. You
Yeah,
guys.
that's what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
You get, I know, tell
We've
you.
been here a while, and it's like
Almost 20,
Yeah.
and it goes so
It
fast.
Crazy.
goes so fast.
So when did your parents come down?
That was probably like we've been here 25 years, maybe 5 years after that. They
Okay.
started in Cape Coral, bought a couple properties, moved down, and that's where that all kind of happened in Naples, where they were all together.
And did any of your siblings also move down
No,
here?
they're mainly either Richmond, Virginia, outside of Baltimore. One's in South Carolina. It's a little bit dispersed now, but we still see each other a fair amount. It was, with their parents passing a couple years ago, there's a little bit of a miss now because there was always a reason to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
there,
Mhm.
but the connection is still great.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And with social media and everything too, that helps so much.
It
You know,
does. It
Keep in touch
does.
and keep in contact. When did your parents, who came down with dementia first?
My father,
And how old was he?
late 70s.
That's early. It feels early.
Yeah. And it was a rough 10 years.
He had it for
So
10
he
years.
he lived till late 80s.
Yeah.
And what about your mom?
She had it later than him, but she had all these issues, broken backs. She unfortunately, such a wonderful woman, fell into just, it started with back and then multiple surgeries,
Mm,
then the medicine impacts.
mm.
Yeah.
And then, so it just turned into more, and then eventually dementia. But my dad, we had really good medical care. So he was on a couple of the medicines, Aricept, and I forget the other one early. So it wasn't like he wasn't cognitive. He was,
Mhm.
but he got quiet because he wouldn't remember what he was saying in sentences. And he
Mhm.
didn't want to feel like
Mm.
that guy. So he got quiet, but he'd always remember you and so forth. And he was this guy, like I said, he knew it with the wife from my mother from the get-go. He died 3 months to the day after she died. And, he had no
Mm.
reason to be, I mean, physically he was still
Yeah, yeah.
okay, but you lose that will to
How long
live.
were they married? Do you know?
Yeah, they were married in 1959.
Holy shit.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so that had to be, what is that, 41
Yeah.
years today? So 60 something, late 60, high 60. Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And I think they had a
Wow.
really good relationship. I really do.
Did you guys use the services down in South Florida then for him when he had dementia, right?
Yeah, we were fortunate that financially we could afford a concierge doctor who happens to be a friend, who happened to be brilliant, to be quite honest with you. And he took care of his care until it got to the point that a lot of it, here I was still working, still having kids, and my parents had a large house, and I'd get calls all the time. Certain things needed to be maintained, and of course you want to help them out, but it got to be a lot. My mom was constantly going into either hospitals or rehab centers. And interesting point, because my wife, God bless her, said, JD, you've changed. You're taking this too much. You're being short with your family. Something's got to give. Did a WebEx call with the 4 brothers and sisters. They took over like wonderful brothers and sisters would, and, sold their house, moved them up there. The 2 girls will take care of you.
Yeah.
Take care of that. Not that the
Yeah.
boys won't, but guess what? I'll take my 2 sisters managing my care. I think I'll take my daughter managing my care. Love you, Austin,
keep your daughter close.
But yeah, so that was tough to see that, but thank God they had great care.
That's good.
A lot of love, but God, it sucked.
No, I'm sure
It's
it's something
hard.
you can't describe to someone how torturous that is
Torture. Good word.
until you've gone through it. And just it's like a double death, right? Because you're losing them in real time watching it, and then you lose them.
Yeah. It's hard for me to say, especially with my dad, because he's the one who taught. My mom was big supportive, but this faith thing has changed my life in so many good ways. And it doesn't matter what faith you have, if you
Mhm.
turn out to be the person that what my father tried to do with us or did with us, and a lot of it was spirituality, but it was more your actions. That's all
Yeah.
that's what I care about, and that's what.
Yeah. So when did your Eucharistic minister, correct?
Correct.
When did you start on that journey?
It's directly tied to my parents. It was really important that they get the body of Christ
Mm.
in their various facilities. They were graduated, so they started in, where it was you could still live in your same thing, and then it
Yeah.
moved up to you could live in the same
Mhm.
thing, but you had to have help, and then they had to, that kind of a thing. And these wonderful people would come into the facilities and they'd give the body of Christ to my dad or my mom, or even before it got too bad, they'd have this beautiful group that would just join in the little room that they had there, and all the
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that were going through the same things. They'd have a
Mhm.
little reading, and it was maybe a song or 2 or whatever, and that meant a lot.
Mhm.
So when I saw that and got to talk to them, it was kind of moving. And then as a Catholic, you believe that is the body
Yeah.
of Christ, and I do. And to see that miracle happen at that point, I felt that that's something that I wanted to do, for both those reasons. It's probably the most rewarding, but it's also a little bit challenging.
Did you
I can
do it
imagine.
for them, or that was just your motivation after that to be able to do that for others?
Like he means literally, did you
Yeah.
give them the Eucharist
Yeah.
yourself?
My parents?
Yeah.
No, it was no.
was
Thanks for
it's
clarifying. No, I
inspiration.
didn't. That would have been great.
Thank you.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
But it's the greatest. It's probably the greatest thing. But it's also it's a little bit, you're seeing what's happening, and
Yeah.
as you're on that road when it goes down there, there's some great discussions you have. But it's also just to get an older process, and it being, you try to avoid it as much as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I'm right in the middle of that, and you
Yeah.
meet some good people and have lost.
Yeah.
And it's a little challenging, but probably one of the most wonderful things I've done. It's a commitment. My Sundays are definitely not,
Yeah.
What do you do? Are you going to hospitals and
No,
hospice?
no. What I do is I actually go to various people's homes.
Okay.
Yeah, they generally can't make it to church, so the church has a program that you will come and you will, do a reading for them or talk to them. It doesn't have to be this big grandiose thing,
Yeah.
but the reality is you tell them what's happening, the message from that Sunday, and then you give them the body of Christ.
That's wild.
It is. It's probably, we've done a lot of things, my wife and I. She's got a good heart. We've done a lot of things on the outside. This is probably one of the more rewarding in terms of the connection. Because one, I'm sitting there driving around and I'm like, this is unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
I've always taken it and I get it.
Yep.
But I'm like, you know what, man? The guy that I'm giving this to, or the woman I'm giving this to, this is the body of Christ, man. So
Yeah.
So when you leave, are you leaving energized and ready for the day and you feel good? Or do you leave kind of like, maybe not necessarily with a heavy heart, but like a real reflective mind of like, wow, that was pretty heavy. And you know what I mean? There's a difference there.
Sure.
One's like, let's go take on the day. That was amazing. The other is, that was amazing. Wow. I need to kind of gather my thoughts.
love the question, because I now actually think of that, because one, always believed, but there's nobody I love more than Jesus Christ. There's nobody, and as much as I love my wife and kids, it's hard to even, but it has brought me that much closer to who I believe is, the Savior.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the greatest thing. And it's the thing that makes most sense in a world that to me sometimes makes me a little bit down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And being able to have that closeness to that has been super rewarding. The greatest. I've met some good people and I like it. Selfishly, sometimes I sit there and go, it's Sunday. I'm limited.
Yeah.
It makes me feel bad that I feel that way, but
we're all sinners.
exactly. And I don't really bad. But I do feel good because I know it's super important to them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm sitting there driving with the pics, they're called, and in it is the body of Christ. And I took that not for granted, because I've always respected and cherished that. But at the same time, I'm driving around and I'm giving that to somebody. To experience that is a beautiful thing. And that's why I think priests and servers and deacons feel this thing, because there's, especially priests, think what you got to give up and a lot of things. But I think that is probably what it's a big thing about. And think about what they're doing, burying people and counseling people that have had tragedies.
Yep.
So anyway, great question. I don't know if I leave energized. I leave feeling closer to Christ, and that's more important to me than anything.
Yeah.
It's almost like you become a Brinks truck. It's that valuable. It's more valuable than, the Brinks trucks that have the money.
Yeah. The armor truck.
But you're it's more valuable than what's in a Brinks truck. It's the body of Christ.
100%.
Is what I'm. It's like, you have to be careful with that.
There's certain things around it. You can't keep it overnight. And if you drop it, or it's the body of Christ, and there's history behind it. But you're 100% right, and that feels really, really good.
It's an awesome responsibility.
It really is.
But I mean, it's amazing that that you're doing that and giving. It's such an incredible gift you're giving to people, and I'm sure it does bring you so much closer to your own faith.
It does. And that makes me super happy, because I've always believed and always tried to pay forward. But the reality of it is, I want that closer, because that's goodness. And sometimes, I've had to take myself off certain applications, social media platforms, because I'm getting drawn into police chases or fights. And I understand it's but that's not healthy.
No, you have to be careful what you consume mentally and spiritually, for sure, 100%. Have you been there when people have passed? Do you give last rites?
No.
That's just the priest, right?
That's correct.
That's a sacrament, right?
I had just a quickie, because this comes full circle, and it's just amazing to me. I had a gentleman in my neighborhood whose wife I know, because we did the HOA in our neighborhood together. And she was a real nice lady. And when she heard that I became a Eucharistic minister, she's like, "Hey, do you mind take care of my husband, who's a nice guy? He had some heart problems, only like 80. So I got to know him through her. And, we knew he wasn't in great shape, but, he's 80 and he got around. Well, anyway, I called to say, hey, I'm on my way. She goes, don't come. He passed away. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Didn't know, but, whatever. And she goes, I got to tell you something. And I'm like, what? She goes, JD. His name was Maurice. Her name's Alicia. She said, he's in bed and he calls me. And he goes, honey, lay down and hold their hands. And he died holding her hand. And they were kind of like what we were talking about. You feel about your wife or whatever. He knew it was coming.
Wow.
And he said, hold my hand. And it's hard.
Wow.
It's almost hard to believe, but this, I know this woman. And
Wow.
yeah. So to be able to be feeling things like that. And I know they were good, Cuban people that were successful, great grandparents, but the net of it is, and I'm sure they had bumps in the road, but that love and that bond through their faith, the guy knows it's coming. Hold my hand.
Yeah, what a trip.
Blows me away.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
True story. So you're right. It's amazing.
That's what I would want. I would want that. If I had to pick, we would go at exactly the same time.
That's wonderful.
That's exactly it.
You guys have such
Like
good energy.
be 100 or 100 years old. Our kids are fine. Everything's good. Okay, we're done.
I'm not dying.
So if I'm Catholic, just so you know, so I in a pinch, if it was like the middle of the desert, and could you give last rites, or you can't? You can't. You can offer comfort,
of course,
but you cannot perform the sacrament.
What is the? I was raised Catholic. I'm not at this point. What is the significance of the last rites in that context?
I'll let you.
In that it has to be done by a priest, I guess.
Well, I mean,
it's a sacrament.
You're being it's a sacrament you're passing on, but you're forgiven. That kind of a thing. Honestly, I wish I knew more, but it's part of the process, and you're with a holy person as you are passing on.
Yeah,
and it's a beautiful thing. And again, I think if there's anything you want to say or anything you ask,
even carrying with you or anything.
Is it almost like not a last confessional, but if you're caught, I guess you're not, right? You're not lucid at that point.
Well, you could be.
You could be. I guess,
it's a good point. Honestly, I'm not aware enough, but I'm going to even find out, because the great thing about this journey too is I've learned so much more, and I've never made the time.
Probably.
And I love the stories. I love the history.
Oh, if you take the time to really learn about, it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. But like the sacraments, like baptism, communion, reconciliation, confession, marriage, last rites, confirmation.
You got them all.
Yeah, that's it, right? Last rites is one of those, right?
Okay,
so
it's on that level.
It's on that level.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. So I think I've thought about that when I've been at church. I've thought maybe in my future I'll do that, the Eucharistic Missa.
It's probably one of the better things I've ever done. One, connection to my parents. How about that?
Yeah.
But more importantly, oh my God, I love everything about what this guy did and stands for. And I hope no matter what faith, no matter what, let's do what this guy was talking about and love it on, man. And in our time and place. And don't you think we've talked about family. That's what you've done to yours. That's what I've tried to do to mine.
I've always told Brian, because he's not a practicing Catholic, but I'm like, you're more Catholic than a lot of Catholics, because by his actions.
Yeah, because he's a good
he's
man.
lived the Catholic
But that's
way.
That's sort of the rub for me. That's my problem.
Well, he has his own.
I know I am, but it's
it does take effort, and there's something to say about that. But at the same time, that's not what matters. It matters your actions and who you are. Because this is why I'm saying all this faith fighting and race stuff. I get that it's part of life, but when you peel that back, it's who you are, man. And you don't have to go to church to do that, or you don't have to do a
That's kind of where I fall on it.
Yeah. But I mean, you might feel better making the efforts. I know I always feel closer to Jesus when I'm doing those things. You know what I mean? I've got a wife that if there's a hurricane or a flood or something, she's on the phone getting stuff together. And then you go do something and I go, God, I feel so good about what we're doing, but closer to you. And at the same time, you helping somebody. How do you feel? I don't think there's much better. So the only reason I'm saying that, Brian, that does take some effort.
Goodwill.
I do think, I know that, between Naples and here, there's a large Native American reservation. The Miccosukee tribe is out there, I think. And I think you've told me how you've done some volunteer work there, right? Have you done like the kitchen or soup type of thing?
Right.
Tell her about that, because I remember you telling me about that. I was like, wow, that's really cool. But I remember you also saying it's kind of heavy because it's
Oh God, yeah.
it's
It's a Immokalee. So it's not so
Okay.
There is a casino now in Immokalee, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. But it's in the city of Immokalee. Have you
Mm.
guys ever been to Immokalee?
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, that's where a lot.
I have. It's
I
well, I've been
haven't.
in the area. We've hiked down there. I've gone to like Everglades City. I've done the whole
Oh, yeah.
that whole area.
Okay.
We've come in from, what is it, 41 between the old highway.
Well, if you were on Alligator Alley, guys, coming
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Naples,
that area.
it's exit 80.
Mhm.
Okay, and you go 5 miles. What is that?
I think it's north, right?
Is that north or definitely west? Not. No, it's in east. Anyway, the point of it is where a lot of the migrants are picking
That's right. That's
in
what
the
it was.
field. So it's
Yeah.
a lot of that. And because the casino's there's all those issues with that, but it's very poor.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's very poor. So it was a church related thing. It's called the Guadalupe Center, and they're wonderful with their outreach and so forth. So interestingly enough, that's one of the things I was able to do with my dad
Mm.
early on before he started getting sick. So it was doing
Mm.
it with your family was really cool. Another way you can feel closer, but feeding's always such a good thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you
Mhm.
also run into a lot of these businesses that supported this Guadalupe Center, like a Publix. You don't know if you know what's behind the scenes, but they're pretty
Yeah.
good.
They
Yeah.
are pretty
They're
good.
pretty good,
Yeah.
man. And I appreciate when
Yeah.
that truck rolls in and it says it's not expired, but they're not selling anymore.
Yeah.
Someone's eating it. So anyway, I really like that side of it. So that's what it was. It was a
Yeah.
Immokalee, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of needs there.
Yeah.
It's a rough and tough kind of situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a place here called Boca Helping Hands in public. It's for the homeless and people who are in need of food. Publix delivers so much
Yeah.
there. It's amazing.
That
Like,
guy seemed to do it right, that founder.
yeah. No, it's great.
They've become part of the community down
They are
here.
part of
They're
the-
worth
Love that.
supporting.
Part of the
Yeah.
Florida community.
Well,
Florida,
they
yeah.
hire a lot of different kind of folks,
Yeah,
what I mean?
totally.
Some with
Yes.
special needs.
Yes.
I like that. And hopefully it's a
Yeah.
good, but I mean,
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's a good company. So as you're, I was going to ask, you said that your wife went back to work after your kids.
she did.
What did she do?
She was bookkeeper for the kitchen, bath, and cabinet company.
Oh,
Okay, cool.
perfect.
And then surprisingly enough, guess when she stopped working?
Grandchildren.
Yeah.
It's a great excuse.
Pretty
I
much.
love
The
it.
timing
I
was
love
very
it.
close
I
to
love
that.
it. I love it.
Yeah. And again, never happier.
That's
Yeah, that's
wonderful.
awesome.
And then your daughter's getting married in January.
Correct.
And will they stay here
Yep.
or in where you live in Naples?
They live in Fort Myers, about 30 minutes
Okay.
away from
Yeah.
us. She lives, it's pretty close to that Florida Gulf Coast where she's
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's cool because if you go up there, it's a pretty vibrant campus.
Oh, it's,
Yeah,
wa-
yeah.
it's,
It
it's
really
amazing.
is.
We toured it.
Yeah.
I'd love it.
Well, that was
Yeah.
back with Nathan. So that was like years ago. We're going to be touring it this year with Dylan.
Trying to get him to go there.
Well, hey, by the way, let me know because my daughter will get you set up.
Oh,
because She's a
perfect.
counselor. And what's so funny is, so she went there, but went there early, got out of high school after 3 years, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Mm.
And then went there to whatever and joined a sorority, changed her life, all good. Now she's counseling there. It's like
That's
full circle. It is.
wonderful.
And
That
I've
is cool.
seen the college grow. To your point, Brian, it's well funded.
Yeah.
Mm.
Got to tell you,
It's nice.
it's they're building
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
super
Safe
safe,
and
not-
clean.
It's safe and
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
every experience, I take the little guy there to. We've had lunch or drop. Come by and see Auntie Allie at
Yeah.
Florida Gulf Coast with the 2-year-old, which of course she loves. But I mean, everything feels really good at Florida Gulf Coast. So it's
Yeah.
a nice option for you guys.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we're going to definitely, he knows we're going to go check it out. So your daughter graduated a year early?
She did. She went through some tough times in high school, a little bit of bullying.
Mm.
Yeah, it was tough. Another reason why, and it was we sent them to this nice private school.
Yeah.
Some of it may have been self-inflicted, to be honest with you. You know how you interact with you, whatever. But, and I don't mean to make judgment because everything ends up working out, or at least it did in this regard. But she just had a tough run
Mm.
the last year or so, and it just so happened that Florida Gulf Coast had this program, had nothing to do with that in particular, but she was smart girl. She writes well.
Mm.
She's creative. And it was this type of thing that they made available that I don't know if it was, she went free or we had to pay a certain part. I don't remember. But all I know is the timing couldn't have been better.
Mm.
And she loved it. Ended up being what do they call them? The fraternity, one of the girls that helps the sorority members, host the parties and all those kind of things.
Okay.
So she got to do that. And she was in a sorority. A lot of her friends from there. So it was a great experience.
That's awesome.
I'm happy
Great
that
school.
that worked out. That's wonderful
It was tough.
because no, I mean our daughter also went through some stuff like that. Just I think when there's mean girls involved, it's vicious and it can be so. It's
Didn't
just
know
so,
that, by the way.
Oh
but
yeah. It's I call it quiet bullying when girls bully, because when boys bully it's more obvious, but with girls it's more behind the scenes vindictive stuff. But it can be it can cause depression. It can be horrible. So
Well, I think absolutely.
yeah, and you have to. I always tell parents of daughters, you need to watch out for that because there could be things going on you don't even realize, and then and that's where the communication comes in with your kids, and that's where it's like you need to talk to me, you need to tell me what's going on, and so I'm glad that works out because girls will just drop friends. They'll be like, "I'm not your friend
Yeah,
anymore."
well, that's hurtful, especially some of them where they go camp together for years.
Yeah,
But she's again, my daughter handled it. It came out real well.
That's
and,
wonderful.
It really, really is.
yeah,
Testament too, because I think I know my wife had a lot.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'm
I was
sure.
more like, oh, it'll be a phase and it will pass. Still
Yeah.
try to be a good dad, but she talked to
Yeah.
my wife.
That's Nicole.
that's the key. That's the key.
And back to the point.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I go to my wife. So why, especially with my son, sports and all that, and we're all get along really well. But I'm like, why is this Allie? You're definitely the favorite in my life. I always try to be that guy. And she's like, JD, man, start taking her to lunch.
Yeah.
Start
Yes.
doing these things that you do.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I did it. And our relationship turned into I
Yeah.
couldn't want anybody different than her for a daughter. But it's funny, my wife goes, dude, what is your problem? In a good way. You're a good dad, but you're not making the effort that you should have, or because you're sitting there, come to me, why aren't I
Yeah.
closer to? So lesson learned.
So that goes back to my question.
Yeah.
When did that happen for you? When did that epiphany happen where you're like, all right, I got to really, was that
My wife told
last
me
2 years ago? Okay. 10
that
years
was,
ago?
maybe probably 10 plus years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the
Yeah.
track I'm on.
And we got along. It wasn't like there was
Yeah,
a bad
no,
thing, but I mean,
100%.
I don't think I was near as helpful as my wife was. I tried, again, we had good family stuff, but she was going through a tough time,
Yeah.
and my wife managed it, and I didn't realize the degree of which, and I probably could have been more helpful, to be quite frank with you.
Yeah.
You just summed up my life, our life, that relationship, because they're way more, she's the one who's guided that. And it's like, you really need to put in a little time. And man, is it rewarding.
That's a valid point, because I'm like, no one's ever told me that. I'm always the guy, whatever, but I avoided that kind of conflict for one. Never dealt with it personally. If anything, I was always trying to hang out with buddies, and you might have a bump here and there, but I don't remember it. And I don't remember that at all with my son.
Yeah.
To your point, Nicole, I think there were some mean girls.
Yeah. Oh, usually there is.
No doubt.
That's usually what it is. Yeah, and usually that stems from jealousy. It's usually that's typically what it is. If you go back to the root of it, someone was jealous, and so someone decided to destroy your daughter's life. That's pretty much
And then
how
the
it
group
is.
follows on, kind of thing.
Yes, it's like Lord of the Flies, but girl version.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's horrible. It's
Wasn't
horrible.
aware of that.
Yeah, it's very common. It happens in middle school and high school for girls, and and then unfortunately, some of these mean girls grow up to be mean women, and so but then by then you can handle them, but I can spot them a mile away. You just know, like, keep them at arm's length because they're.
What is it, like an energy thing, or?
And for me, I can read now. You can tell just the way they are, and I'm sure your wife could also totally spot. You're like, okay, I'm not going to be good friends with her. She'll stay in my outer circle. As a woman, you just know. And it's unfortunate. Then they have children, and then they raise mean girls.
You
So
know what,
it's a
though?
circle.
I would be very upset. I get it, because God, make mistake, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't, if my daughter was a bully, I mean, how does that, you're not going to I'd be front and center of that. You can't do that.
But that's the point. You're not a bully. You're not raising a bully. But there's adults that grow up and they don't change. And
So
they
generally that's it, that you think that the mother was probably.
the mother or the parents are were probably bullies and have not changed their ways, have not grown as people, and are just having little people like them. Like they think it's fine. They don't correct. They're like, yeah, that's fine.
They don't correct.
Or they're insecure or they're jealous. There's parents who are jealous of other kids. You know what I mean? Like those kids might be doing better at something than my kid. They're jealous of it's just it's a horrible thing. Talk about faith. Like they need
You
some
you
more
were
faith.
at the Nick game while this was happening. No.
Might have been. Might have been.
No, but those daughter-daddy dates, I call them. There's been times where I'm like, you need to take her on a daughter-daddy date. It's time. And they go to lunch or they go to dinner or they go do something. And it's such a game changer.
I will say this, Nicole, and again, I've only met your daughter the one time at that F1, but
Yeah.
and she's a doll.
Thank
She
you.
really is.
She's a sweetheart.
Well, I'm from that school of nice to meet you, and you're
Yeah.
looking me in the eye, and we're
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean? I'm
yeah.
not trying to
Yeah. Oh,
to
good.
put
Yeah.
too much into it, but oh really? And you're genuinely going to talk to me and not just
No, she's a very authentic woman. I call her a woman. That's not a girl, but she's very authentic and very genuine and very kind. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So
No, she really is.
She really is.
a
She's a
special
good
kid.
person. Yeah. One of the first things she said when she knew you were coming, she goes, make sure and thank him again for the F1 tickets and tell him how much I love it now. And I said, I will, I promise.
You did mention, and again, I'll get you one of those days because to see that much fun, and that's become such an event. The only problem is, Brian, hot, right? And it gets packed. So you got to figure out timing and things like that, and you'll have a better experience.
Now we know what to do.
Well, and where to park.
100% dialed in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
then you'll have, my second year was a lot better than my first, even though first was great. But
Yeah.
We've literally watched every race since then. The
That's
two of
just
us watch every
fantastic.
race.
F1.
I
So
record
fun.
it now, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before I ask my last question, do you have any other questions?
Oh, man.
I always have to ask him because I ask and then he goes, I had a question.
I don't think so. I think we've covered some ground here.
You got everything?
I think so.
Okay.
I think
So
so.
my last question is always, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I would guess, if I had to guess, retirement,
For
but
sure.
I don't know. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
definitely retired.
Okay.
And again, I have such a good working relationship. If there was some consulting just to stay busy, fine. But we love the working out type of thing. My wife and I have really bonded that much closer because we both love to spin and love yoga. So we'll do classes together. And it's enjoyable because, you're doing those things. And then, you meet the people there and they're the hunts, So
Yeah.
I know that we'll be doing a lot of that together, which is good because we enjoy it and it's healthy. I'm sure there's going to probably be some more travel, more time spent trying to do the right thing for others. I know that's a big part of it. So I think we'll be busy. I'll be doing a lot of golf. There's no question. Hopefully with JD Jr.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? And
now he has
Might
those
be better than
trainings.
you.
He might be better than you.
oh, I hope, God, I pray so. I pray so. But probably in a really good place, probably still here. We always thought about having a second home, and we're kind of planning on that at some point. And you never know, but with Airbnbs and you could get months here and there, my wife's not leaving the children. And there's no way. And I don't want to either, but I'm still saying my dream is seasons. I still can't get over missing
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah.
I wanted to answer your question before. I have one for you. But
Okay.
that was how I see myself.
Okay.
Retired and happy as can be, and good friends and good family, and just hopefully trying to stay healthy.
And maybe more grandchildren.
That would be the well,
Don't mess up that wedding ceremony because that leads to the grandchildren, right? Got a lot of responsibility there.
you know what's interesting too? My daughter, she'll make a great mother, in my opinion, because she will. She's ready now.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and she's 30 years old now. So yeah, she's just turning 30 years old.
That's
yeah,
great.
she's turned 30. So yeah, but I could see that happening, and he's there. He's done well. He's a smart kid. He's got a good job. So I could see that happening. But yeah, that would be awesome.
That's wonderful. You're so blessed.
I really am,
You're so blessed.
I'm appreciative of that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
wonderful. Nettie,
Yeah.
you said you had a question for
I
us?
do, because I
Okay.
was talking to Brian about this, especially now knowing like that northern New Jersey thing that you live. and I lived this idyllic, Brian. I can remember fall and smelling fireplaces.
100%.
You know what I mean? I can remember snow days.
Yep. 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
And that was a lot more northeast, right?
Mhm.
And I moved down here, and not that love it, but moved down here, loved Florida, pretty hot. You know what I mean? And a lot the same. And a lot of that's good. And you had mentioned, oh, you can play sports year round. I go, who's doing that in the summer down here,
Yeah.
right? But anyway, I always thought of that second home. And then I go, Brian was telling me that you grew up in the West.
In the Pacific Northwest.
And, having worked for Cisco for all these years, it's a lot of years. That's God's country, right?
Yes.
So I had family that lived out in Colorado, then in California.
Mhm.
Why would you leave?
Well, I mean, I loved Oregon. Where I grew up in Beaverton outside of Portland. I loved growing up there. We met in college in Ashland, Oregon. So
That's where you guys met? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, he came from Jersey to Oregon to go to college.
Okay.
So that's where we met. And Ashland, Oregon is this quaint little Shakespearean festival town, artsy, hippie,
You got to
magical.
go there.
Magical. If you're ever near Ashland, it's 20 miles north of the California border. So if you're in the Redwoods area,
Oh, see, that's what I'm saying.
it's amazing. No,
It's nice. There's vineyards are out there.
It's
Legal weeds
gorgeous.
out there now if you want.
I got you.
But the whole thing, it's beautiful. It's like she's saying, it's 15, 20 miles north of California border, right on I-5. There's a little Shakespeare festival there, wonderful park,
It's
whole
beautiful.
downtown area. It's great.
Growing up in Oregon, the thing is, when you grow up somewhere like Oregon, you almost don't realize how beautiful it is until you leave, and then you're like,
Well,
wow,
it's really majestic, right?
it's
Like
majestic.
when you
it's
see
gorgeous.
a redwood tree, you're changed.
Yeah, well, and that's
Yeah.
Northern California, but even in Oregon, it's just Douglas firs and green. It's green, green, green. The one thing I will say is it's very gray because it rains about 9 months out of the year,
Oh,
so
so that's
like 8
key.
months out of the year.
That's key then.
I didn't
It's a
know. I didn't know. Maybe 8 months out of the year. I'm gonna have Oregonians say that's not right. It rains a lot, and I didn't realize that I lived in gray. You don't know you live in gray until you leave.
Okay.
And then I moved to New Jersey with Brian because we had Nathan in Oregon, but then we didn't want to raise him in Portland.
Understood.
It was starting to turn into a little bit too much of a drug culture town, which I'm sure you've seen what's happened to
Of
Portland
course,
since.
yeah.
And where he's from, Sparta, is kind of like where you lived in Randolph, this quaint little lake community, super safe, just idyllic, all that. So we moved out to New Jersey to raise children. When I moved is when I realized, oh, I was living in gray, because in New Jersey, even when it's cold in the winter, it still could be a blue sky out. Like I didn't realize how much I needed a blue sky, or I needed more sun. So, I love Oregon. I will always love the Pacific Northwest, but I don't think I could live in the gray again.
So that's what it is in gray, because you
Yeah.
think that beautiful nature. that
It's
you s-
gorgeous. And then one of the reasons it's so green and so lush is because it rains so much, and the air is clean and all that. And that's just what it's like up there. It's like Seattle. It's very rainy. It's gorgeous. I love it. But I couldn't do it again.
Okay.
I need, because you do get seasons there, but it's still gray seasons. It does snow sometimes, but it's still gray.
Like it is cool to, like, if
It's
you're
beautiful.
driving in downtown Portland, I think it's
Yeah.
I-5, you come around the corner and right there's Mount
Mount
Hood
Hood, yeah.
in the distance, and it's snow covered year round. Right?
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I don't know if you can still see St. Helens or not. I know it's erupted
Yeah,
again. It may have shrunk, but
Yeah.
St. Helens is out there.
Yeah.
So as you're driving around, there's these
That's majestic.
inactive volcanoes, basically,
Oh,
which
yeah,
are
I'd be-
really cool.
I'd be on the freeway just driving, and there's the mountains. Like it was just like, yeah, that's where it is. But
Funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
different things. But you just said it, because I couldn't do that either. And
Yeah.
you know what resonates? Because when spending time in England, it's gray.
Yeah.
it's very
and
much
the
like
people,
that.
a lot, but you're 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very much like that, and again, and I think there's a lot of seasonal depression, not just in Oregon or Washington, but anywhere like that. I couldn't, but you know what's funny? You said about seasons. I miss seasons too. I do, but I do feel the seasons in Florida now. I do. I feel when the break comes in the fall. And then of course winter.
We
we
feel.
do.
I don't know
Yeah.
about the break in the fall much anymore. I
Yeah,
did when we
feel it.
moved here.
Yeah.
But, different strokes. I do love
Yeah.
and appreciate the sun and all that. And
Yeah.
do not get me wrong, but in your mind, you're like, I'm going to go be in the woods
yeah.
in
No.
I don't
Northwest
think-
Oregon or Washington State, or
No.
they say British Vancouver's the most beautiful. I
It's
just
very
you
pretty.
want what you don't have.
Yes.
But I'm not going in here without.
You
the
know, the
kids.
reality is everything's a plane ride away.
Yeah, it'd
So
be
you
great
can-
to go on like a week or two vacation
Yeah.
out
Yeah,
there.
Airbnb it with the whole crew.
Yeah.
Everything you would want, you could get without living there. You
Well-
could go have that experience, but you don't have to live in it.
You can get it in North Carolina. I think you were in North Carolina
yeah.
over the summer, right? Or South Carolina?
Well, yeah,
Wherever you
both.
were, I drilled into that city you were in. Looks really cool.
Greenville.
Yeah, Greenville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want more north just because I want cooler.
Yeah.
But again, who wants black ice and all that kind of stuff? But I
Yeah.
just laugh how there was 4 distinct seasons, and maybe it was my youth too at that age where everything was looking
Yes.
good. But God, Brian, I enjoyed that so much. You knew spring, you knew summer, you knew
Yes.
fall, you knew winter.
Yeah.
And I loved the different clothes people were
Yeah.
wearing.
Yeah. I
and-
miss that. I miss the
Yeah, I
different,
get-
like I wear all the things in January here. I'm like, where are my
Isn't it
Uggs?
great?
I wear everything, or January, February. Yeah. And I see other people doing it too. But, but in New Jersey, at least you'd be in winter was like 6 months or 5 months. Like you'd be dealing inside. The kids were inside
yeah.
so much.
I found
know.
it as a kid. I have such fond memories, all wonderful when it would snow, getting the day
Snow
off.
days.
What it would mean to come out in the spring when it's like 60 degrees and you're in shorts because it's not 30, right? In the seasons. But as a parent, as a dad, I hated it because if it snows, I'm the one dealing with the sidewalks, the driveway, and then it melts and then it freezes again. Now I'm dealing with ice from a safety issue. So it's
Well,
like,
that's fair because I haven't. Well,
All
I
that.
take that back. I lived in New York with the kids.
Long
Yeah.
Island. Yeah.
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 But then the raking, I remember in the fall, he'd be raking almost every weekend, like blowing the leaves. Almost,
Yeah.
we lived kind of back into the woods.
So-
we had a cool
yeah.
place that our backyard was the woods and it was cool.
But he did
But-
spend a lot of the fall just blowing leaves. So
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
enjoyed, and plus when we moved
He
here,
enjoyed that because
Well,
you didn't
you
have to
know,
do
he
it.
enjoyed
Well,
the
the-
break from not doing it.
And it was fun. I don't mind doing leaves. Honestly, I'm okay with it because we'd be out there with the kids and they'd be rolling in it. But now in New Jersey, they have ticks.
the ticks. Now you have
Ticks
to worry
and
about
Lyme
the
disease.
ticks.
So it's not like you
So
can
now
run.
you're like, don't roll in it.
Yeah,
it
don't
became
roll.
a whole thing.
Don't have fun.
Yeah, don't
'Cause you
jump
could
in
catch-
there because
yeah.
of ticks.
So, in conclusion, we've all lived right about perfect timing where there wasn't.
yes,
Because
yeah.
Oh, I
I don't
think so.
remember ticks when I was
Yeah.
there.
Now
Totally.
it's a big thing. Like,
Eh,
yeah, you got it because the deer.
Oh,
the
you've
deer.
not heard of that?
I've heard of it hugely,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think I've even come across a couple people who've been, they're
Yeah.
hurting because of it.
Yeah,
My mom got
no.
Lyme's
She
when she was
did.
up there. It was terrible.
She did. It's amazing how much she recovered. But yeah, so we're like you. We're not leaving the kids.
Yeah.
If the kids go to Oregon, I'm going to Oregon.
Oh, God. She's
I-
in that
Oh,
mode.
and
I'm
I
like,
love
I'm
it.
not leaving Florida. I actually would go to, I have my eye on like Chattanooga, maybe that
You
Asheville
turned
area.
me on to the Chattanooga. It was nice.
I love it.
Chattanooga's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool town.
Uh,
Very cool.
I'll give a
So,
shout out to, what is it, 11? That whiskey.
11,
it's a
the
micro
whiskey,
distillery right in Chattanooga.
I went there.
Did you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
remember?
Oh, that's right.
You told me to
Yeah.
go there, and then there was the hotel I stayed at where that river was right there. I forget.
Oh, you stayed at the same hotel?
yeah.
The Marriott.
Okay.
It's kind of like a boutique. That was
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Great.
And you walk across that bridge right
The
across
pedestrian
what is the
bridge.
Tennessee
But-
River, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But 11 whiskey, it's some of the best whiskey I've ever had. If anyone's around Chattanooga, go there it's by the
Shameless
train,
plug.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chattanooga
shameless plug.
Choo Choo.
Hey, Nicole, I'll
Okay.
end on this if you want to end, which would be great because this was fun. But part of the Chattanooga, I love that, the whole Desmond Doss story.
No.
He's that the soldier that wouldn't carry a
Mm.
gun.
Oh.
And oh my God, it's the most amazing story. Guy's name is Desmond Doss, and it was I think I forget the name of the movie, Hacksaw Ridge or whatever.
You
but
told me about this.
yeah, but you got to watch the movie because anyway, he just became, people were against him. He wouldn't carry a gun. Anyway, he ended up being like one of the bravest guys ever, saved like 72 lives under fire. Just crazy story. Anyway, I would tell everybody, this is my hero. This is my hero. So sure enough, that's where he's buried. So when Brian said, check out Chattanooga,
No way.
that's where this gentleman's
Yeah.
buried. And I went and saw his grave.
Yeah,
And
that's
it was,
Wow.
cool.
it just made because I'm like, that's who you want to be,
Yeah.
a guy that's gentle, but is a hero. And then they had,
Wow.
oh my God, it was moving.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I was meant to ask you, did you go to your lacrosse coach's grave in Arlington?
Um, I did. I haven't been there since they buried him, but it was one of the most.
Oh, you went to the service?
Oh God, you guys, I'll never forget it. Horse-drawn carriage,
Oh, no kidding.
flyover.
Wow.
He was good. He was, like I said, you guys. Can you imagine? Just, I mean, a manly man thing. I never experienced war, thank God.
Yeah.
But at the same time, these heroes that put it out on the line. This guy fought Germans in planes and
Yeah.
fought Japanese in planes, and
Yeah.
just you challenge yourself as a man.
Yeah.
So
We
That's
have no clue.
amazing.
No clue.
No clue. Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit I would never be a cop, and I could never sign up for an armed service or thing like that. I'm a guy's guy, but I'm not a man's man or whatever, right? Whatever that difference is, I don't know what it is, but these guys that have gone to war, flown over in planes, that's
Hero. They're
Heroes.
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 they gave us the life we're
They're-
sitting here having a podcast. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
It's because of
exactly.
them.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. 100%.
So
And
you
that's a
two
good
need-
note. Yeah.
you need to watch that movie when you get a chance. It's. I mean, he's world famous. I mean, and it's just real because at the end of the movie, they interview people that
Oh,
he
that's
saved.
cool.
And
Yeah.
they tell the real thing, like, because he got just abused. Everybody didn't want to be with him because he wouldn't carry a gun.
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll have to check it out.
Yeah, check it
We'll have to
out.
watch that. So, all right, that's a good note to end
Well,
on.
before you end it, I'll just
Yeah.
say thank you.
Oh, you're
Really
welcome.
appreciate
Oh,
you
well,
coming in.
absolutely. That's
Fun.
part of
Man,
my
I
ending.
know, but
Yes.
You'll
Yes.
go and you have a nice succinct ending
you
and wrap
say
up.
your-
But I
your
just
part, yeah.
thank you so much.
Pleasure.
It's awesome. Just
Yes.
really cool.
Good
Yeah.
to get to
Really
meet
cool.
you, Nicole. I know your husband,
Absolutely.
and we've it's been fun. It's been good because like you said, you talk about business and you want to do the right thing. I just like to
Yeah.
when you have to go through that and you're with people that are good people and that are fair people, and it's wild to be able to be here. So thanks.
Yeah,
Well,
it's cool.
thank you for sharing your story and your wisdom. And, I think a lot of people, or a lot of our listeners will learn a lot from some of the stuff you shared, especially professionally. I think
Oh, cool.
the wisdom you have when it comes to your professional journey, and the different aspects of sales and the integrity that you bring to that role, I think the younger generations can learn a lot from that. And so I really appreciate that you
Cool.
did such a deep dive into that, because I think there's aspects that the younger generations need to learn a little bit more about the meaning behind when you're selling something, not just the sale. So I think you really you brought that to the forefront.
One thing I'll add too, what we've seen boomers take a tough rap, say in the comments and stuff, but I do think you've represented the boomers well, and I think for our
Absolutely.
listeners,
Cool.
and I've said it in other episodes where I've said I know some boomers that are good people. I think you represented your boomer generation well, and I know you're not full of
Absolutely.
crap. This is all genuine stuff, and I've known JD for a few years now, several.
A lot of years.
Yeah, a lot
15,
of years.
18 years now.
Probably, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that
I didn't
crazy?
know it was that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Wow. Well, and so much of what we are about here is authenticity. And so I can say to our listeners, we have an authentic boomer in here that's authentic. And I think there are more, but I think, as Brian just said, you're such a great example of someone that's coming from that generation, that gets it, that's real, that's that can just relate with anyone, probably from any age and any generation. And I think that, you're not all about yourself. You're giving back. You are there to meet people halfway. I just know that that's how you approach life. And I think there are other boomers like you out there. It's just that, unfortunately, the younger generations tend not like that before they come across one like you. And so I think they get discouraged, And so I'm so glad you came on to share your story,
Oh, I
because
appreciate that. What are they? If I may ask, what are they? What do you find? Because
they're rude. They're in general, again,
that's fine. Go. I'm interested.
very rude to service people, like
Ooh,
staff at restaurants and stores.
Self-centered, greedy.
Self-centered.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, greedy.
Fucked
yeah.
up the whole world. No, I'm
No,
not even kidding.
that's
Right? There's
the
a lot of people
attitude.
with an attitude
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
boomers fucked it up for the rest of us.
Yeah.
type of thing. Excuse
Yeah.
my French.
Did
but
it
Yeah.
go greatest generation to boomer or what?
No, greatest generation, silent generation, boomer, Gen X.
So I was raised by silent generation.
probably.
Probably. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think there's a lot of good boomers out there. Here's the thing. There's a lot of good boomers, but the ones that aren't are loud about it.
Interesting. Okay.
And
Yeah.
so they're the loud ones, and then the other boomers are just living their life like the rest of us, you know, but that's what's being projected onto the younger generation.
Got it.
You
Part of
know?
it, I think, is probably very professionally driven, corporate driven, in that there's a lot of boomers still in management roles, and they're tireless workers, and they expect the same from the people that they're managing, so that they don't get the concept of work-life balance, right? They expect you to always be on and da da da. That's part of the perception. I don't know if it's as much as you're go down to the park and, oh, let's stay clear of the boomers, but it's, that's
No,
sort
but
of
it's cool
that
to see what you
professional.
guys have heard, and it's good to know, because you know what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
you don't know,
why-
right?
Why do that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
no, but I think you are right, because millennials brought the work-life balance, tried to bring the work-life
Mhm.
balance into the workplace, and then Gen Z is really wanting that. Have more expectations and have even more boundaries. And so I think when there's younger generations coming into the corporate world with that attitude, and then if there's boomers that are like, we go to work, we work as hard as possible, you work overtime, you work on the weekends, no questions asked. They just don't. They
The culture
can't.
clash.
Yeah, they clash,
Okay.
and
No, that
so
makes sense.
I think that's also what's going on, and I think they can both learn from each other.
Yeah.
But right now there's a clash, and then there's Gen X, and they're going, wait, let's talk this out.
Let's talk this out.
Come on, you guys. So that on the professional, and then
Yeah.
and just when they're out in the wild, it's the ones that are rude, but they were rude their whole life. That's the thing. These are just rude people. They just happen to be in this
And
generation.
it's not a
No,
generational
there's
thing.
Gen Xers that act like that, so, but that's why, again, I'm so happy you came on and shared your story, because you're just this awesome guy,
Oh, that's so kind of you
just
guys.
this great
You
guy,
kind of just,
you know,
you kind of just end up with people that you want to be around, and do the right thing. It's
Yeah.
probably a lot of that.
Mhm.
yeah, well, I think you're really cool.
Well, thank you.
You're a
This
really
has been
cool
so much
boomer.
fun.
Really
Yeah, it
cool
was good.
boomer. So again, thank you, and just sharing about your personal life, and again, there's just a lot of wisdom there, and I'm really happy that our listeners are going to get some exposure to what you have to share, because I know there's someone out there that will learn something, or there might be other boomers out there listening that can say, I can totally relate to
Oh,
that,
that's so cool.
or I remember that, or oh yeah. So again, thank you so much.
Impala.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
Impala is what I was thinking of when the
Impala,
race.
yes,
Yeah.
the car.
car.
It was on
Yeah.
his mind. That's
Yeah, that's what
Finally
do
happens.
came
you know what I
back to-
mean?
Yes.
I've been thinking that for the last couple hours.
And good luck with your daughter's wedding in
Thank you,
January.
guys.
It's exciting. And with your grandbabies. And with your retirement that's in the
As
future.
it comes, yeah.
And all that stuff. So thank you again. And to our listeners, please leave any questions or comments. We always love to hear from you. And we will see you next time. Bye.